Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Abby and I like to talk about spooky things. Happy 2026 everybody! My first video of the year on January 1st. That worked out perfectly. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you 42 terrifying TikToks about experiences at Zak Bagans' Haunted Museum. I've been wanting to do this video for so long. I've had all these TikToks saved for quite a while now. I have personally been to the museum and I had an insane experience that I am so excited to share with you guys. I'm going to be sharing my experience at the end of the video. But the overall concept of the museum to me, just having so many haunted and notorious artifacts under one roof is crazy. Like, the energy in there is insane. And I am just obsessed with listening to people's stories and experiences because nobody has the exact same experiences, and there's so many things that can happen when you have all that put together. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you 42 insane TikTok about people's paranormal experiences there. This is going to be just like slightly different from my other videos. I'm not going to give as much commentary after each TikTok like I normally do. I'm kind of just going to give an overall summary at the end of the video and talk about my thoughts on the museum and my experience. But same as always, I'll introduce the TikToks and I will give my thoughts here and there on some specific ones directly after the fact. But we have a lot of TikToks here to get through. I have a feeling this is going to be a long one. Anyways, we have some insane stories that we're going to listen to in this video. So if you guys like it, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up, click the subscribe button down below, and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. I post Sundays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central Time. And without further ado, let's get right on into the video. Our first TikTok's with the user, Wyatt Lamb.
Hi, I'm the guy that's being haunted in his 110-year-old apartment, but we're not here to talk about that haunting today. Those of you who are close to me know that I am obsessed with Zak Bagans and ghost adventures. So, I frequent the Zak Bagans Haunted Museum. I want to say I've gone like 6 or 7 times, and each time I have done his RIP, which is his VIP tour, and I have so many t-shirts to prove it. This man is the third love of my life, the first being my boyfriend, well, the first being my dog, the second being my boyfriend, and then Zak Bagans. Let's go ahead and put this on for immersion. So I have done this tour so many times, and in a place that holds so many haunted artifacts and disturbing memorabilia from infamous bad people. I don't think I can say what they are. You're bound to get spiritual activity. And I have a few stories I would like to share. In the room for Ed Gein, who was inspiration for multiple horror film icons like Hannibal Lecter and Texas Chainsaw Massacre's Leatherface, there is a cauldron that was used by him to discard of the evidence and parts of the things that he did. And it was also used in an investigation by Zak Bagans by a dark witch, a dark magic practitioner, who used it to stir up demonic and negative activity. I believe she had made a deal with Zak that she would participate if she was allowed an unspecified amount of time to do what she wished with this thing. And at the time that this happened, the items from her ritual were still inside of the cauldron. It had like just happened, I think, like a month prior to my visit. Now, normally the spirits or energy in this room only attacks women or affects women, but I have a pre-existing sensitivity, I'm assuming, to the paranormal, considering all of the things that have happened to me in my life. And I was nauseous and dizzy, and I had to support myself in order to keep myself from falling over. And I just had like an overwhelming sense of dread. I did not want to make a production out of this. I didn't want any attention. I didn't want to be interviewed by the tour guide. I didn't want anything, so I kept it to myself and waited for us to get out of the room until it subsided. And I've been back in that room a few times since then, and nothing has happened to me again. Now I want to talk about the infamous basement. So the building that Zak Bagans' museum is in used to be a private residence, and it has been confirmed, all but confirmed, by the children of the former owners of the house, that the basement was actually used for, I want to say satanic, but I don't necessarily believe it was satanic. It was dark arts being performed and alleged sacrifice or torture happening in that basement. So it's very centralized, dark energy. And after it was a private residence, it was turned into a government building. And no one was allowed to go into the basement by themselves. When it was a government building, people actually avoided it. And Zak Bagans does not allow people down into the basement unless you sign a waiver and do your RIP, and even then it is optional, and a lot of people don't do it. I have been to the basement many times, and the first time I went in, I want to say it was with my mother, and she didn't want to do it, but we did. And the basement is staged as a dark ritual. It has spirit boxes going at all times. And it was just me and my mother who went down into this basement. And as soon as I walked into the room, the spirit box told me to get out immediately. And I was going to. My mom said, just go in. So I went in and I walked around. She believes in ghosts, but she doesn't believe in Zak Bagans for many reasons. But that happened the first time I went in. The second time I went in was with my best friend and her mom. I assumed that they were with me the entire time. But after I had done my circle in the ritual room, there is a long hallway, a very long, unsettling hallway to get back up the stairs. And I assumed that they were right behind me, because I heard their footsteps behind me. And I was walking up the stairs, and I heard running up the stairs after me. And it startled me, because I was like, why is my friend running at me? And I turned around, and there was no one there, and the tour guide heard and saw. And they asked me if I was okay, and I said, did you hear that? And they said, yes, they did, and that it happens quite a bit. And my friend and her mom did not come out for, I want to say, like 2 more minutes, and I asked them if they were, like, behind me and went back down, and they said no, but they were in the room the entire time. So that's the second thing that happened to me in this place. There is an infamous doll in this museum called Peggy the Doll. She has been known to give viewers of her, of either in person or pictures, cardiac arrest, bad luck, and physical harm. And she is in that museum. It is optional again to see her. I have seen her every single time. This time that I was with my best friend, we went in. Her mom did not want to go into the room. And went into the room, and there's a spirit box in there. And it told me to shut the F up, and called me the F slur, and then bitch. And me and my friend kind of just looked at each other, and we're like, for sure, we are gonna go get out of here. But I want to say all of the things that have happened to me in the Zak Bagans Haunted Museum. There might have been a few other things that just quite didn't stick out to me, but I've been so many times it all kind of blends in my head. There is one more thing that happened that was not paranormal. I went into the room that was a reimagining, or I guess recreation, of the basement that was featured in Zak Bagans' documentary, Demon House, which is a very good, very scary, like very, very, very scary documentary, so if you're not into that, don't watch it. And he recreated the basement, and we were only allowed to go in one at a time. It was like brand new. and I went into the room, and I was looking around, and then I turned my head to the very corner, and there was a 7-foot goat demon in the very back shadows staring at me. It scared the shit out of me, and I walked back out and I said, "Excuse me, is there a demon replica in there?" Had to make sure, because, I've seen things before. And they said, "Oh yeah, there is." I said, "Oh, cool. Why the fuck didn't you warn me about that?" It has since been removed, by the way. But yeah, that wasn't paranormal, but it did scare the shit out of me, and I wanted to tell you that.
This one is particularly interesting to me because I actually had a wonderful experience in the basement, which I'll tell you all about when I share my experience at the end. But it's one of the things that just fascinates me so much about this house and museum in general is that everyone has such different experiences. Someone could be like chased out of the basement by a demon, and then other people are like, wow, this is lovely. Our next two TikToks are by the user Hyper Rebellionism.
Let me tell you why you should never go into places that have heavily demonic activity, being disrespectful, and thinking you can get away with it. I went to Zach Bagans' Haunted House Museum in 2017 with my ex-wife in Las Vegas. This is an 18 and up only, guys, so if you're a minor, don't even try. They will not allow you in. You have to sign a waiver. And on that waiver back then, it stated that whatever happened to you once you left the property, you cannot sue the place for it. You just can't. So once the waiver is signed, you can go in as a group. It's 90 minutes long, guys. We had one guy in the group who was that skeptic, who is that douchebag. I'm talking the douchebag with his hat backwards, sitting there trying to show off for the 2 girls he was with. As we were progressing through this tour, this guy kept cracking jokes, kept saying stupid shit like, I don't know how people believe this, nothing's happened to us so far, this is what a waste of money, that type of guy. And then cracking jokes at all the other rooms that we were in. Anyways, I had this horrible feeling come over me, and I knew something was going to happen to this guy. Because mind you, I already had things, I saw things. But that's a different video. If you want to hear that, comment below. Anyways, I tell my ex-wife. My ex-wife said we got this far. Nothing's really happened yet. Until we got to the last part of the tour. The last part of the tour, the rooms to go in were optional. Because the items you're about to encounter were demonic, evil. People have had things happen to them when they've encountered these objects after they've left. Some tour guides refuse to go into certain rooms altogether, okay? It is not a joke. These people deal with these things all day for the tour. Anyways, the 2 girls went into the Dybbuk box room. That was the first room. The real Dybbuk box. I'm talking about the one from the movie. He looked in, and he looked for about 20 or 30 seconds because I was coming up, and I watched him change. I don't know what happened to him. He had his hat on backwards the entire time, but he turned it forward and kept his head down like this. I saw fear enter this man's body. He went from being this douchebag, show-off, cracking jokes, to being a frightened little boy. He said not a peep. He didn't even look up for the rest of this tour. When I walked past him, he was looking down at the ground when we went into the next room to look at this demonic doll. I saw darkness around this man. It was like this shroud of darkness. And when I say he was silent, it wasn't just verbally. It was his entire energy that was just quiet. Like something happened. I don't know. But guys, after the end of the tour, him and those 2 girls were the first to leave. They were gone. Do not think for a second that you can go into these demonic places, laugh at these entities, thinking nothing's going to happen to you. People have had really bad things happen to them after this tour. And this guy thought he was spirit bulletproof. He wasn't. If you're going to these places, protect yourself. If you do not know how to protect yourself, the best way to protect yourself is just to not go at all. Because these entities that we came across, their whole purpose in this world is to bring suffering, agony, bring you pain, and to ruin you. I don't know what happened to that man, but he did not leave as a skeptic. I could tell you guys that much. So if you're going, please be careful. But the best safety is just to not go at all. So you're in luck, because I was about to go to bed after my last video, but as soon as I posted the last video, my mom calls me in a total panic attack. I live here with my mom because I help her take care of my stepdad, but she calls me saying she felt afraid. It was the freakiest shit, but let's get into the story. Look, back in 2017, I had a really bad knee disability from my service in the Marine Corps, which required me to be on a cane. I still use it from time to time today, unless I'm in a lot of pain, but it's not so bad now. Back then, it was really bad. So, at the start of the tour, I told my ex-wife, I think it's best if we stay behind everyone, so that way we're not affecting the pace of the tour. She agreed, and we were going to catch up when we catch up, alright? Now, in the initial entrance, this is when I came across the dark, cloaked figure. This figure I saw in the corner of my eye. It looked about 6.5, 7 feet tall. When I say it filled up the height of the hallway. Alright. And I thought nothing of it. I thought maybe it was the trick of the lighting. Just gonna keep going forward, not gonna think about it. We got to this part of the tour where it's very steep stairs. This was a very old house, so it's old school attic stairs, very steep. It was so steep that the tour guide came up to me and she asked, do you need assistance getting up the stairs? My ex-wife was there too, and I was like, no, you guys can go ahead. I'll catch up when I catch up. Just, it's gonna take me a couple minutes, okay, but I'll catch up. They're like, cool. So they went up ahead, and everybody was already in the attic part of this tour while I was barely halfway through the stairs. I still had a long way to go. At this point, I was in a lot of pain, taking breaks, but I muscled through. And I don't know if it's the same theme now, but it was a circus clown theme. And so by the time I got up to the stairs and got into the room, everybody was already heading down the hallway. They were already, again, a few minutes ahead. So I took it upon myself to take a little break and take my time looking through all this freaky shit upstairs. But there was a wood-like maze that went through the room. Kind of like Starbucks, how you have the poles and the rope, but imagine super, super thick wood. And you kind of had to go like this, and then you went into the other room, which is where they were at. I guess I was in there a little too long, because my ex-wife ended up noticing I wasn't with the group still. And just as I was coming around, right, the final corner right here before you go into the next room, right here, I saw the entity again, the dark cloaked spirit, and it walked right in front of me through these thick wooden separators, whatever the fuck they are, walked right across, right through the wall. I picked up my cane and I ran. And just as I was running around the corner, my ex-wife came around the corner and she said, "What did you see? What happened? Are you okay? What's wrong?" I said, "I'm not talking about it right now. Let's just catch up with everyone in the group." So at the end of the tour, we were up against the wall and we hear 3 loud bangs right behind my head. And the whole group and the tour guide were all like, "What the fuck was that?" And she laughed and she was like, "You're gonna see shit and hear shit in this house, but hey, that it is what it is." And at the end of the tour, Me and my ex-wife, we get to our car, I tell her what I saw, and I say, we need to smudge our clothes immediately. Now, mind you, I already had protection on me. I had protection amulets. We did a prayer before we went in, after we left. I was very respectful to the spirits. I did not do anything to disturb them, but I also came in very well prepared because this is something that I've been dealing with my entire life, spiritual matters. So I ended up going home, smudging my clothes, and everything was fine. But I already went in prepared. That's why I say, if you're going to do these things, be protected, be prepared, because you never know what you'll encounter when you're going to places of high spiritual activity or demonic activity.
That is one thing that I will say. It's unfortunate because it's a house and it's not like a built property, that there are some things that aren't quite accessible or might be difficult for some people, like how he had to kind of stay behind to get up the stairs. So that is one unfortunate thing, and I don't think that really comes up. It might say like on the website if you look into it, but if you do plan on going and you need something that is more accessible, that might be one thing to keep in mind, that you might unfortunately have to either miss out on some things or I guess do what he did and like get back from the group a little bit while you're trying to get up the stairs, which isn't great. I don't know if they would be able to fix that in the future or what, especially since I believe it is a historical home. I don't know what the rules are for changing things like that, but yeah, that is one unfortunate thing, is that there's like stairs to go up the stairs and down to the basement. So definitely not 100% accessible. Our next TikToks with user Amanda, please.
If you are ever in Las Vegas, do not, and if you like creepy horror stuff, if it's not for you, okay, then don't, but go to Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum. It's rated the #1 attraction in Las Vegas. I've been a Ghost Adventures fan for a very long time, so being able to finally go to this museum was like a dream come true. I was at first a little skeptical about buying tickets just because a lot of people have had, you know, demonic possessions come back with them. They've had really bad nightmares from this. They've had bad things happen to them. I'm fine. I prayed a lot in the museum because I believe in, you know, demonic stuff. I believe in good spirits, bad spirits, the devil and angels. And so I just was like rebuking everything because no. But a lot of people in this museum have like passed out. They've been taken to the hospital, all sorts of crazy stuff. And people have had like things attached to them. You know, like I said, they've been like touched in the museum, just all like supernatural things kind of happen. In this museum, there was like a serial killer room with some of like John Wayne Gacy, Charles Manson, Ted Bundy stuff, which was really cool. There was a room that had the bed that Lamar Odom overdosed on, where he had like 12 strokes and 6 heart attacks. They think, you know, there's like a dark possession attached to that bed. They had a room with the devil's rocking chair, which a young boy had an exorcism performed on him in that chair by Ed and Lorraine Warren, and that rocking chair inspired the Conjuring movie. There was, I don't even know, some of the rooms are just so dark, and the things that are in them, I don't want to talk about it on here. You'll just have to go to experience it. There was this clown thing that they make you walk through, which was absolutely god awful. It's like Halloween Horror Nights, like a clown maze, multiply that by 10. So unsettling and awful. There were some dead celebrity things in a room, which was pretty cool. I think the 2 things that just really freaked me out the most, there were actually 3. One of them comes from an episode of Ghost Adventures called The Demon House, very demonic house that was ended up getting torn down. He had the staircase that went to the basement in the museum with dirt that was from the house. That just made me feel so unwell. I remember seeing that episode and being so freaked out. The room with the Dybbuk box, which is the world's most haunted item, like demonically, just awful. That room felt terrible, and that's the room that Post Malone went in with Zach Bagans. You can look it up on the internet and see what happens. The room with Peggy the doll, where people have said where they look her in the eyes and bad stuff has happened to them. I walked through that room so quick, and I literally refused to look at Peggy in the eyes. 10 out of 10, great.
Our next TikTok is with the user, Hi, I'm Nietzsche.
So did you guys see the before and after videos of like everyone going, this is me before entering and then this is me after entering? And they're talking about the Zak Bagans Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. I've been twice. I have a story for each time. I want to preface this by saying that place is real. That place is freaking real. I don't care if you don't believe in the supernatural. It's real. The first time I fucked around, I found out, brought something home with me. Did it fuck with me? It tried to. But then it started giving someone else nightmares. Let me get started. Okay, so first time I go to Zak Bagans Haunted Museum, we had a really cool time. I thought it was so cool. I've always loved the supernatural, the macabre. I've always really been drawn to it. And any type of haunted museum that you have to sign a waiver to get into, I was on board. So the first time I went, it was for my cousin's birthday because she loved ghost adventures growing up. So we go, and it was actually pretty cool. None of us had some really crazy experiences, but there were 2 rooms that really made me feel uncomfortable and had really, really negative energy. The first room that really fucked with me was the Dybbuk box room. At this point, the Dybbuk box room only had just the plexiglass covering the Dybbuk box with salt around it and sage, and it wasn't how it is current day if you've been recently. It's like souped up, the level of spiritual protection Zak has placed on the Dybbuk box. But we're in the Dybbuk box room, and as I'm in there, I could just feel the heavy energy of that room. It felt as though someone was sitting on my chest. And when you're in that museum, you're in a group of about, I think at most like 8 to 10 people. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was about 8 to 10 people there. We were not the only people in our group. And so we're sitting in our group. We're all crowded into this room. And I whisper to my aunt in the most quiet whisper that I felt like I could barely breathe because it felt like something was sitting on my chest. And the tour guide went through the whole story of the haunted Dybbuk box. And then she says, I'm going to leave the room now because every time I come in here, I feel like something's sitting on my chest. As soon as that happened, me and my aunt looked at each other. We're like, we're going to follow you out the room. And we did follow her out the room. Now, the second room was a room that I actually have never truly stepped foot in. My body won't let me. And that is the very last room where they have the staircase from the demon house. Okay, so in that room, the very first time they go to tell the whole story about it, yada, 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 and they have this staircase and then a replica of what the demon that Zak allegedly saw, yada, yada, yada. I went to go step into that room. That room felt so disgusting to me, worse than the Dybbuk box room. I said, oh, hell no. I literally said it just like that, and I stepped right back out. Everyone else went into the room, walked out. Fine. We drive all the way back. This is from Vegas, driving to Arizona. The night we get home, I couldn't sleep right. I was like, I'm not scared of ghosts. I'm not scared of spirits. Why am I not sleeping right? I knew something was trying to fuck with me. So I was like, you know what? Forget this. The next day I go and my stepmom asked me about our trip. And I tell her in as much detail as possible about the Zak Bagans Haunted Museum. She calls me the next day, tells me the entire night after I told her that story, she had nightmares. The entire night where she was trapped and could not speak, and she's floating around desperately trying to get help. And my husband was in the nightmare, I was in the nightmare, and she just had these nightmares. She's like, fuck that museum, I didn't even go to the museum, and yet it still gave me nightmares. All right, I'm already 4 minutes in, and if you should I tell about the second time? So the second time we go to the museum, this is just me and husband. We go, just the two of us in our group. And we actually had to leave early from our tour because unfortunately we had another appointment that we got to get to. And when we booked our tour, the only spot available was right before this appointment. And so we kind of overbooked. And so we knew that we wouldn't be able to do the full tour. So we were going to leave the last few rooms out. But I remembered that demon room. So I was like, I'm cool with that. It's fate. Didn't matter. We get into the cowboy room. The room, it's like one of the first rooms you get into. It's not a scary room whatsoever. He has like, I think it's like a diary from Wyatt Earp, different things like that. And we're sitting in the cowboy room, and I kid you not, I get tapped on my shoulder. My very first time ever feeling a spirit physically touch me was in the cowboy room. I was so excited, I felt so lucky. But on the second time, I knew what I was getting into at that point. So I had already prepared ahead of time with items to protect me, protect my husband, and cleanse ourselves afterwards. Did not matter. Because when we went to our appointment, it was like the lady that we were dealing with, something switched up in her. I don't even know what happened. She freaked out at us. In all reality, I probably could have complained to her boss, but we were so kind of caught off guard at the way that she treated us afterwards that I was like, are the two related? That the energy that we took with us from the museum that would cause her to act so freaking irrationally cuckoo cray? Like, I don't know, but that's my theory. But yes, the second time I was actually tapped at that museum. Now, they do have overnight tours, and I've told, like, my husband wants to go on an overnight tour to the museum, and we've been to a lot of haunted places. But I don't know if I'm willing to go back. I feel like there's so much hype around it at this point, and when you do that, negative, icky entities like to feed off of it and drain off of you. And when you think of ghosts in the spirit realm, you got to think of humans here. You don't just trust strangers, right? So why would you trust a random spirit on the other side of the veil? You have to be very cautious and careful because you never know who you can get. Chances are you're not going to run into anything nasty. Chances are you're not going to run into anything that's going to try to attach to you and try to make your life a living hell. But you never know. Just like chances are you're not going to run into a mass murderer, right? But you never know. If you're into that stuff and you know how to spiritually protect yourself, I would recommend it. If you're afraid of that stuff and you're just looking to get scared, be prepared because you never know what you can take with you.
Our next two TikToks are of the user Tati's Creepy Stories.
Come with me to the Zach Bagans Haunted Museum. As most of you guys know, I'm currently in Las Vegas, and a lot of you guys suggested that I should go visit. I do want to say that I went ahead and booked the tickets without doing any type of research, and after I looked into it, I was kind of like, what did I get myself into? It is now the next day. I meant to finish that video last night, but I was so drained from that museum that I was done. Once you get there, they automatically ask you to shut off your phone. So you can't now record while you're in the actual museum. You can only record in that first room. One of the first rooms we hit was the bed that Lamar Odom OD'd in. And it's also the bed where the owner of the Bunny Ranch passed away in. It is said to be extremely haunted. When I walked in there, I literally felt like my knees were going weak and I was about to like fall over. And I was literally had to like brace myself, get a hold of myself because I didn't want to fall over in front of all these people. That was one of the instances where I actually looked at my husband and I was like, I don't know if I want to like go through with this, but I already paid to be there, so I'm gonna finish it. We continued on. They showed a bunch of other rooms. I'm not gonna talk about all of the exhibits, but I'm gonna talk about the ones where I felt something. There's this one room where they have part of James Dean Carr. If you don't know who James Dean is, he was a very famous actor from the 1950s. He crashed his car. I think it was called Little Bastard. He crashed it and lost his life, and it's believed that that car is extremely haunted. In that room, I felt like I couldn't breathe, and I kept trying to cough my way out of it. That was another second time where I felt like maybe I should leave, but again, there was these two girls that were in the group because there was like 13 of us. There was just two girls that were in the group that kept laughing and like making jokes and just not really taking things seriously, which is like the last thing that you should ever do when you're in one of those places. When we were in this one room, I think it was the staircase from this one house. I think it was called D Word House. I'm probably going to do a whole story on them, but this house was extremely haunted and all of the children that lived in the house were possessed to the point that one of the kids actually crawled up on the side of the wall, like in front of the nurses and stuff, and it was unexplained. The house has since been demolished, and Zach purchased, I think, the staircase and some other parts of the house, and he set it up in the museum. When we were in there, you can feel like the heaviness and the eeriness. The one girl that was laughing, and she kept laughing throughout the whole thing, I saw when a hand went up her back and then went like this. It was almost like she was being marked, and this thing was going home with her. As you're going through the house, they take you to like a bunch of different hallways. I kept seeing like shadow people like peeking through like on all the corners of the house. But aside from all that, I went to the house extremely protected. Like, I was not coming home with anything. Like, it tried to affect me, but I was kind of like bouncing it off. I'm not sure how that girl's night went though. So if you're ever in the Las Vegas area, you want to check it out, definitely check it out at your own risk and make sure you're fully protected before you enter into that place. And number 2, always be extremely respectful. You don't want anything to just mark you. So this is my update on the Zach Bagans Haunting Museum. As most of you guys know, I was in Las Vegas a couple days ago and decided to go visit his very haunted museum. I went in there completely protected, but no matter how protected you are, sometimes you could pick up on things or have certain things kind of follow you home. And it's usually things that you get very drawn into. So when we were in the museum, there was this doll by the name of Lily that really caught my attention. I couldn't get my eyes off of her. Like, for whatever reason, I kept being like pushed towards her. She's said to be extremely haunted. Her hair is actually made out of real human hair, and she is known to cause a lot of horrible nightmares to the person that she, I guess, interacts with. The very next day, in the very middle of the day, the sun's out, I'm in the passenger seat, I'm taking a nap because we're still doing the road trip. My husband's driving, went out of nowhere. I completely fall into this deep sleep, and I am completely paralyzed, sitting right next to him in the car. And I was just in this deep, dark hole that just kept going deeper and deeper. And at the very end, I could see the doll, Lily, sitting on the ground playing with some type of, I don't know, she was playing with something. And she just kept saying, "Do you want to come and play? Come play with me." And I'm just there like, no. At one point, I was like, am I having a stroke? Like, is this what a stroke feels like? Because I had this out-of-body experience where I couldn't move, and I just felt like everything was just slowly like zoning out. Then something snapped in my brain, and I'm like, hello, pray. Start praying, pray. So I start to pray, and just like that, I'm like snapped out of it. When I came to, I was just like, like I almost felt like I had been underwater the whole time. And my husband's just like, what the heck? And I tried to explain to him what happened, but he was just kind of like, so yeah, if once again you go to the Zach Bagans Museum, be prepared to have some type of experiences, because even if you go there protected, you may have something happen. And nothing has happened since. I feel like that was just like a little taste. Nothing has happened since. Will I go back and visit? I don't know. I honestly can't answer that right now. Should you? At your own risk.
There are so many people that, I mean, you'll find out as you continue watching, that have really weird dreams after going to the museum, and it makes me wonder if it's a subconscious thing where, you know, you're scared, so then your brain creates these scary dreams after the fact, or if it is in fact something following them home or attaching itself to them, maybe like actually some kind of an after effect of the museum, not necessarily a typical subconscious dream. Obviously, there's not really a way to prove this, but it is something that I do wonder about when I hear these stories. Our next 7 TikToks are with user Sparrows S.
I'm Sess, and this is me before Zach Bagans Haunted Museum. Okay, this is Sess, and this is me after Zach Bagans Haunted Museum. I'm Daisy, and this is me before Zach Bagans Haunted Museum. I'm Daisy, and this is me after Zach Bagans Haunted Museum. I'm Vivi, this is me before Zach Bagans Haunted Museum.
I'm Steven, this is me before Zach Bagans Haunted Museum. I'm Steven, and this is me after Zach Bagans Haunted Museum.
Like, hi, this is
Amelia, this is me before Zach Bagans Museum. This is me after the museum.
Hi, I'm Jake. This is me before Zach Bagans Haunted Museum. Hi, this is Jake. This is me after Zach Bagans Haunted Museum.
Okay, so I'm just gonna record this as proof. I don't know when I'm gonna post this, just because I'm so like overwhelmed right now. So, after the museum, yesterday was Tuesday, so it was 2 days after. And I was heading out. I was coming home. And I thought I saw my front neighbor outside, like waving. I saw like a white figure and I just saw like a wave, and I kind of glanced because my eyes were a little blurry too. But I thought I saw someone standing there. So when I got out the car, there was nobody there across the street waving at me anymore. And I was just like, okay, whatever. So I'm walking up to my house, and I just hear, hi. And I just like booked it because I got this very scary feeling. So I headed out again because I was gonna go to the gym, and I was talking to a friend, and he was like, that doesn't sound good, because I was very scared. Like, I kept thinking I saw like figures, you know, and I was just like, man, like I just have to get where I'm going and just relax. And I was going to the gym, so I knew I was going to kind of like release all this weird tension I was feeling and anxiety I was feeling. So I went to the gym. He was telling me to like pull over and just relax, you know, but I was just like, no, I just have to get here. And he was giving me great advice, but I was just not listening. Like, I just wanted to get to where I was going. So I ended up having like a conversation that night, that I thought it was okay. Like, I was fine. But as soon as I like drove away, I just had this huge, like, overwhelming feeling of sadness, like extreme. So I ended up like going to sleep like easily. Like, I forced myself to bed, but I kept waking up in the middle of the night. And I woke up and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, why do I feel like this? Like, I just kept crying. And I showered again, and I was like, I just need to relax. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. I just need to relax. And again, crying. It is 12:57 right now, and I haven't gotten out of bed. I've just been crying, and anything makes me cry. I think about one little thing, and I'm just sobbing. So I saged myself, and as I'm saging myself, like, I'm telling whatever is like on me to like not leech off of me for their sadness or like make me feel worse, you know. And my energy levels are just so low, and I just feel like shit. Like, I don't know what the hell all this was, but I don't know. It's so weird. And I have the sage right here. I have the sage. I have it lit just so I can just be around it and just whatever's on me just to like get off. Hey guys, I just wanted to come on here and give you guys a little bit of an update from yesterday's video. First, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone that's been so kind and has said some nice things and given me some great advice. And so I really appreciate all the kind things and everything you guys have done for me and reaching out. Like, you guys are really amazing. Like, honestly, that was very, very nice. Two, I wanted to talk about why I posted that video. I posted it for you guys. A lot of people had questions of like, what happened, what can happen if you go, and what are the consequences of going. And I documented it, and I wasn't going to post it, but a lot of people were reaching out saying they were gonna go, they wanted to go, they're gonna go this weekend, they're gonna do this, they've never been. And I recorded it, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna post it just so people can know that this is the type of stuff that might happen. This was my second time going to the Haunted Museum, if you haven't seen my other video. I have protected myself the whole entire time. Prayer, my rosaries, holy water. We did everything we could in the beginning and after, and still I wasn't 100% protected. And that's okay. I knew that can happen. I wasn't complaining. I wasn't scared, like, oh no, what the heck happened? Like, what did I do? So everybody that's saying, like, what did you expect? It's like, no, I expected this. I've just never felt this before. So I wanted to show you guys what can happen. The best way I can describe about how I felt, like, after thinking about what happened is those emotions that I was expressing were not fully mine. It felt like, it just felt uncontrollable. I slept all morning. Every time I cried, I would get drained of energy and I'd fall right back to sleep, and then I would wake up and all over again. It was just this cycle for hours. I went to work and still I was out of it. I work with some people that went with us to the museum in the first video, and they were just like, oh my gosh, like, you look drained. And I was like, yeah, like, I don't know how to handle it, but people have been telling me some great advice, and I was just really trying to figure out what was going on and how can I get rid of it. There's many comments about like the waiver, saying like you signed it, you get what you get, da 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 da. Other people are saying it's false, it's not even a real museum, it's fake, and just all these negative things. And I'm just like, okay guys, calm down, like, girl, stop fighting. It's different for everyone. It's completely different for everyone. There was one person in the entire group that didn't feel one thing, and you can tell who it is because they're extremely happy. And then there's another person who was upset, and I talked about that. There's other two, maybe three, that were terrified and just kind of like tensed up. And there was me who felt fine, and then all of a sudden is just feeling like this overwhelming of depression and sadness that came out of nowhere, but I know it's not me. So overall, I'm not scared. I'm not upset of the people who are saying the negative comments. I am very grateful for the people who did reach out and said some kind things, and people that are leaving such nice comments. Like, honestly, like, that is so, it was just very nice, and I really appreciate you guys. I just hope you guys take this video as something, as a warning and a, you know, something that can happen to you and something that might not. And I don't know, just enjoy what I posted. I am looking to continue cleansing. I have looked into all the things that you guys have suggested. I have Palo Santo, I have holy water, I have everything I can. And I am reaching out to friends and people who have already reached out to me to try to find the right way to do this. A lot of people have different suggestions because you guys all have different beliefs, have different religions, and, you know, for me, it's completely different, but I take your guys' advice and your guys' suggestions very seriously, because I need to figure out what's attached and what's going on. So yeah. But overall, this video was for you guys. Continue asking questions if I can reach. Like, videos have kind of blew up out of control, and I'm either liking or commenting maybe here and there, but I'm trying to keep up. But yeah, thanks a lot. You guys are really, really kind, and I appreciate everything. Yeah. Okay, so here's my story time on the Haunted Museum. So I'm only going to be talking about my POV on the museum. I think that's only fair. And I'll be showing some things at the end. And of course, it was with their permission. So yeah. Any other questions you might have that doesn't include me, that's just what's going to happen because they just don't want to talk about it. So for the record, we were drained from the museum, and it was hot, but the feeling of feeling drained was completely from the building and our experience, not from the heat. But yeah, we were hot, but it wasn't that. So I did the RIP tour. It was my first time doing the RIP, and it was really, really cool. I definitely would do it again. 2 people in our group did not do the RIP experience, but the 4 of us did, and it was really interesting. So one of my biggest things that really threw me off about something I did was I went down to the basement, and I've always heard stories about how scary and how it has affected workers there, Zach, and even guests, but I was willing to go down there to experience it for myself. I was nervous and I was scared, But once I got down there, it was fine. Apparently we were down there for quite some time. There was 4 of us, me, a friend, and then 2 other people that were in the RIP, but we didn't know them, but they were part of the group. And it was fine. The energy wasn't heavy for me. Throughout the museum, the first time I ever went, the whole entire museum felt very heavy. Like, it feels like you're carrying a backpack full of like rocks. But this time it didn't feel so heavy. I was just very tense. But down in the basement, it didn't feel heavy. And if you've ever been to the museum, you know what I'm talking about. It feels so strong, and it's weird. When we came back up the stairs to our group, the tour guide had asked us if we had heard anything or what our experience was like. And I had told them that I heard the spirit box say banana. And the other guest that was in there with us, she kept saying that it was so heavy, it was so heavy. And I just looked around and I was like, it was fine. And a girl that was standing next to me kind of just like to me. I don't know, I didn't feel it as heavy. I didn't think it was as intense as it was to others, but I can see how it can be. So here's where it gets weird for me. So where I think I got affected was when I went into the conjuring room. So I've been into that room before, and I am aware of the Devil's Rocking Chair. I have read about it, even out of the museum, and I have seen the film, which is not even close to what really happened, but it's fine. But I was aware of it and its curse / energy. When it was explained to us, we were able to go up to the rocking chair. It's still behind a glass, I guess. And since we were RIP, we were able to do that. And there was also another, what's the word? Piece of furniture that had a peephole in it. And you can open it, and it was tape. I'm assuming it was the original tape of the recordings of the possession and the exorcism that happened. So that's the part where I got, I guess, dizzy / lightheaded as I was turning the corner going out the room. We ended up having to stand outside and behind some rope listening to the story of another doll. I believe her name was Lily. She was known for being a prankster / mischievous. I remember that, but I also remember my right leg, getting a little achy. After that, they guided us to our next room that happens to have pieces of, I believe, the Titanic. I don't remember. I didn't hear what was happening, but we went into that room and there was a replica of Robert the doll. And I got so excited to see that I kind of booked it towards him. And I stood right in front of it. I couldn't stop looking at it. I was staring right into it. I knew it was a replica. And for some reason, I was so fascinated by it that I wanted to hold it. I wanted to grab it and hold it like a little baby. And I wanted just to oh my goodness. I don't know why. And all I remember is just staring at it. I kept turning around, trying to listen. But then I remember just kind of getting lightheaded. And apparently I just kept turning around and looking at this doll. My friend caught it and was trying to snap me out of it, but I just kept ignoring it and just staring at it, trying to just grab it. We ended up walking out, and I remember our next room was the demon house. While I was in the room, I started getting my eyes really burning, kind of like when you go underwater swimming and your eyes just start to hurt. That's how it felt. So I kept rubbing my eyes because I knew they were kind of burning. So that's when we go into the room of the demon house, and they have us stand there and it's gonna start, and my eyes hurt, my head just gets so much pressure, and I just bolt out the door. I run out because I just felt so much pressure on me. There was nobody outside the door besides one tour guide, and she ran up to me and was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just feel very lightheaded." And she was like, "Have a seat, sit down, get yourself together, everything's okay." And my friend ran out. What the heck? I don't know what happened. That was weird. My phone just glitched and it just flipped the camera. Anyways, so my friend comes out and he's checking up on me, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't remember really what I said to him, but I remember she kept saying, it's a replica, because he had mentioned that I kept staring at this doll. And I was like, I know it's a replica, I know it is, but I don't know why I kept being stuck on it. And then when I got into the demon house, I just like flushed out, my head started hurting, I was just weirded out. So the tour was over, and then as I'm walking out, I'm passing Lily, I just get tripped. I feel like a little brick, I don't know, like something small, like if I ran into it, like if, I don't know, a foot. The best way I could describe it, it was like a little foot. And I trip, and I turn around, and my niece is behind me. She's watching it, how it happened, because it happened to her too. And I just kind of was like, I'm freaking getting out of here. Even to the point where I'm running out, they're still like messing with me. So on my way out, Lily tripped me, and I was drained. I had so much pressure on my head that it went away really quickly when I walked out. But it definitely was draining. And the pressure in my head, I just couldn't handle it. I had to sit down. I was just like, I have to get the heck out of here. I didn't finish the tour because I didn't finish the demon house, but I think I did pretty good. I just put my guard down towards the end, and something was in there messing with me, and it was intense. And yeah, if you haven't gone, I recommend it. I think it's a very cool experience to see all the things that they have in there. You just have to be careful, and you know, things can trip you, things can show up, things can scare you, things can, I don't know, but it's a really good time. If you don't want to go, that's okay too. You do not have to, but it was a really cool time for me, and I would go again. Alright, so I'm here visiting my parents. Yeah. So I decided to just kind of have a conversation. I know they met because of the whole visit last weekend. So last Sunday, it wasn't the first time I went to Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum. That was actually the second time. Both times there was weird activity that happened. The first time, it was actually more with my friend that actually went this time. I won't say which one out of the 6 of us was the one that was affected last time, but let's just say she's doing a little bit better than the last time. The first time we went was actually the opening day after the lockdown. We were all going back to work, so we decided, hey, let's go take this trip since we're still all off together, and we can actually do that and enjoy our time without worrying about schedules. So I believe we were either the first or the second group that got to go back into the museum when they reopened it after COVID. Right off the back, as soon as we walk up to the house, one of the people that is also part of the 6 from this past Sunday just starts crying uncontrollably at the door before walking in. So we were all kind of looking at her like, calm down, we haven't even gone in, like everything's okay, but she just had this overwhelming feeling of sadness that she couldn't control. Inside the museum, one of the people that went last Sunday blacked out completely. She doesn't remember the first trip, I think completely, or a lot of the things. She just doesn't remember it. We were poked in one of the rooms. We were targeted really bad because the energy was really heavy the first time for all of us. Again, we went protected. We used rosaries, holy water, and still we were not protected fully. But it was okay. We were fine. We know what we get ourselves into, guys. We know what we're doing. We know the consequences. Are we crazy for doing it again? Yes. Are we crazy for even considering going again? Yes. One of the people in the group also has, I believe this was like their 4th time going. They continue to go back because they enjoy the
one, the experience, and two, all the artifacts that are there and all the backstories. We don't go in there with bad intent of like, oh, I want something to attach itself to me, and oh, I want to be disrespectful to these things and see if they're really real. We know they're real. That's why we go, because we know they're real. We like their backstories. Do we panic after? Like, do we feel like, oh, like scared? Yes, but you know what? It's okay. We know what we're getting ourselves into. Anyways, let me know if you want to know stories about the first time we went, and I will let you know some cool stuff. Yeah. Alright, finally I have a few minutes to talk about the post that Zach Bagans posted on his Instagram. And yes, this is the exact location where I blacked out. And I was freaked out when I saw it, because when we were at the tour, a lot of the tour guides mentioned that there's been a lot of weird things happening at this lower room, I guess you can say. So let me walk you through now exactly what I remember from the tour and the museum. So here's an arrow right here, because there's another door here and another room, and that is where the Devil's Rocking Chair is in. When we walked in there, that's where I walked up to the chair, and I was staring at it and kind of just looking intrigued. And when I turned my head coming back out, this is where I kind of lost my sense of time in here. When we walked out, we ended up back here between these ropes, and we were listening to the story behind this doll right here. We were the last ones, or one of the last ones to come out to listen to the story, so I didn't get to hear anything. And also because I was so kind of zoning out here. We ended up turning around and going to the next room, which is right here, and that's where they had the replica of Robert the doll. And that's when things just started messing with me. I was very intrigued by the doll, like I mentioned in my other video. My friend that was with me was the one that was telling me to like turn around, trying to snap me out of it, and I just don't remember. I thought I turned around twice to look at the doll. Apparently I was just stuck on it. I do not remember the story in here either, because I was so focused on the replica that I just didn't even know what was going on. We ended up walking out, and what I remember, we ended up going in here. That is the demon house room. That's where I ended up getting like migraine, and my head started like feeling like a lot of pressure, and my eyes felt like they were burning. And I remember bolting out of that door. The tour guide came up to me here, and I sat there because she had told me just sit down, try to calm down. As I'm sitting there, my sister also bolts out of there, which was Vivi, and she was the one that, that's where she started freaking out, because she felt like somebody pulled her finger or held on to her finger. While she was talking to the tour guide about her experience, I remember getting up and walking into another room that's over here next to the conjuring room, and just trying to like process what was going on, trying to like get my, I was blacking out, so I just was trying to focus and calm down. And that's where a lot of the people in my group were telling me that they noticed my eyes were weird. I told them that I felt like I was walking on a waterbed or something. So then when we walk out of that room to go into the gift shop, right here is where I ended up tripping. I thought I tripped on the rug. As you can see, there is no rug. And yeah, so when that happened and I tripped, my niece Mireya was right behind me, and she kind of giggled because she's like, that just happened to me too. And we ended up walking out into the gift shop and leaving the tour, because it was the end of the tour. Now this doll right here in the middle, that's the one that they were talking about, where I mentioned when we came out of the room, we just didn't hear what her story was. Pretty much she likes to prank people, trip them, make them fall, tip them over, things like that. So when I was walking out all weirded out, she pretty much just kicked me out, and she said, get the hell out of here. Looking at the layout now, it's so strange how I remember it compared to what really happened. Apparently when we walked out of this room, we went into that room. That's when I was distraught, and then we went into the demon house, and that's where the rest of the stuff happened. I don't remember it like that. I remember it how I explained it to you a little bit earlier. But yeah, my sense of time in here is all over the place. I don't remember much. I don't remember the timeline. But yeah, this is the exact room.
Okay, let's talk about my spooky dreams that I had after visiting the museum. After I started feeling better from all the experiences I was having at my house, I started really just having these horrible nightmares. The dream that sticks out the most for me is one that I had about the basement. The basement in the museum is a lot smaller. It's a lot smaller than you think, honestly. So in my dream, it was this huge room, kind of like a temple, but I knew it was a basement. While we were in there, there was a few, 5 people in black robes.
The first TikTok from her, where it's like us before and after the Zach Bagans Museum, is what initially inspired me to make a whole dedicated video, because I kept coming up upon video after video of people's stories after I saw that one, and it just really made me think about my experience and how my friends and I were after we were at the museum. The effect the museum has on people and the experiences, I'm going to say this so many times, like how different it is. And just everything that's going on in there is so insane to me, so crazy. And obviously as someone who's fascinated by the paranormal and relics, you might say, like this, it's just, I eat it up. Our next TikTok's with the user, Megan Lisa Medium.
Zach Bagans Haunted Museum. Zachary Bagel Bites, the man that makes me want to yell at my TV. What are my thoughts on Zach Bagans Haunted Museum? Is it legitimate? Are there really evil things there? What are my qualifications to even talk about it? Well, I'm a professional psychic medium. I've been trained to do this work. I'm also a teacher of this subject, and I help people learn more about connecting to their intuition and their own mediumship development. So let's get into it. Now, before we start, I do have to say I haven't actually been to the location, and I don't plan to. But I do know some things about some of the objects that are there. I've heard many stories of people that have gone there, including personal stories of people that I know. And personally, I think a lot of those objects could potentially have some kind of negative energy connected to them, but where is that energy coming from is the question. When objects hold energy, they can hold energy from the previous people that owned them. So if you're somebody that has keys that you're constantly holding, or you have a necklace that you always wear, me as a psychic medium can hold those objects and psychometrize them and get information about you. I can perceive you, about your energy, things to do with your life, things like that, as well as what we can do with objects that have been held by maybe people that have had a darkness, have had a negativity, and maybe have imbued that into these objects that can be picked up on. Now, does it have a negative effect on you? Good question. Not if we don't allow it to. Can we perceive things like that and then decide that that's not for us and have a clear boundary of psychic protection, as you may want to call it? Yes. Can it still have some kind of energetic effect on you temporarily in that space? Potentially, depending on how open and sensitive you are versus how well shut down in that sensitivity you are during that time. The other issue with places like this, and this includes haunted houses, is that people come and bring their fear, they bring their energy, and they add to these objects, they add to these spaces. And that's also what a lot of people are also picking up on. It may not always be even the objects themselves. It could actually be coming from all of the many people walking through these spaces with that fear and including that energy into all of these things. Do I personally think that there are entities and spirits attached or within these objects doing negative, evil things? No, that's not really how that works. It's past energy or current energy of human living people that are creating these kinds of negative, dark, energetic spaces. Sensitive people, again, can just pick up on these kinds of energies, whether that is a space of positivity and love and peace, where you may go into a sanctuary and feel all those things. You can feel the exact opposite of places that are harboring negativity, where there's been fighting or bad things that have happened. And obviously, when I say bad things, that's always going to be from your perspective of what that means to you. but there are different kinds of densities of energy and they do feel different. So personally, for me as a very sensitive person, I don't like going to places that I'm going to have to feel things like that. That's not really something that feels fun to me, because I don't really like feeling those kinds of heavy energies or nauseous or feeling whatever, I could potentially feel. Could I go into that space and probably really hold a strong guard and try my best not to feel anything? Yes, but there's still a possibility that I could, and I don't really want to necessarily put myself into that position if I don't have to. Do I think anything negative is going to happen to me, or I'm going to carry something away with me like an attachment? Absolutely not. Will I have an uncomfortable time while I'm there, or potentially right after, until I ground myself and become balanced again? Yes, potentially. Bottom line, do I think visiting that place is going to cause you harm permanently? Absolutely not. No. I think that you have nothing to worry about as far as that goes, but I do think there's something always to be aware of when it comes to going into spaces where you may feel certain kinds of energies temporarily, and to also note the psychological effect that these places could have on you, especially since they prime you toward all these stories about negativity and things that have happened with these objects, and that may scare you, that may stay with you for a time. And that is something we always have to be aware of as individuals with psychology and brains, that we have to deal with difficult feelings or things that have happened that we're aware of. We're always having to psychologically manage those kinds of things. So just something to consider if you're going to go to his museum or other spaces like this.
Our next two TikToks are by the user ElectraSoul444.
As you may or may not know, being surrounded by specific entities can affect you in different ways. Angels and good spirits, for example, would affect you in positive ways because they have positive energy. Now, demonic and negative entities, on the other hand, affect you more negatively because they have negative vibes. You feel me? The energy that they give out, you receive. Being surrounded by negative entities can affect you in different ways. Some could cause for you to feel sad, some can give you physical pain, and others are just straight up leaving marks on your body because they want to make a point to you. Marks such as scratches, bruises, cuts, literally anything, but you can see it. Now, with that being said, I'm going to be talking about the time that I was physically affected by a negative entity after I went to Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. Because bitch, them negative entities were not playing. After I left the museum, I noticed this on my leg. I don't bruise easily. I didn't even get hit this day. Nothing happened to me. As soon as I saw this on myself, I just knew that this was caused from the negative entities that were at that museum. Because I'm telling y'all right now, the energy there is very interesting, but it's not good. Only because there's hella negative shit there. They were trying to make a point to me, bitch. And in fact, this actually did hurt. When I was touching it, that shit fucking hurt. And I didn't even bump myself. Nothing happened to me. It simply was there for them to make a point to me. And trust me, it did make a point. Because after that, I was like, damn, they were not playing with me. It's still barely there, but it's definitely there. Alongside that, the friend that I went with was experiencing extreme back pain when she was there. And I'm telling y'all, this is one of the telltale signs that tell you that you're being negatively affected by negative energies is back pain. Back pain is the number one thing, bruh. She said that she hadn't felt back pain like that since I did a fucking cleanse removal, getting rid of all the spirits in her house almost a year ago. Since that time, she has not felt back pain like that until she visited this museum. Oh, and also this. The next day when I wake up, I go into the bathroom and I see this, and I see that as well. Y'all might be thinking, what's wrong with this picture? Bitch, I was the last one to use the bathroom. I used the soap last. I laid it flat. That shit is on its side. And that serum right there was standing up, baby girl. It was not on its side like this. And even if it seems small, I'm telling y'all right now that if a negative entity feels so comfortable moving shit in the physical world, that entity might have a little more juice than you think that it does. Even before I thought about the fact that, hey, I used the bathroom last, I didn't move this shit, I just knew that some sort of entity messed with this. I just fucking knew it. Call it intuition if you want, definitely was, but this was not normal alongside the bruise and the back pain that we were experiencing. Don't ignore the shit that you see. If you see something like this, take it into consideration. They think that they're slick, but they're not. You just have to keep your eye open and to always remain spiritually protected to ensure that nothing negative happens to you, because nothing can, baby girl. Period. So the other day I had the honor of going to Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum in Las Vegas, and y'all, holy shit, the stories that we heard. If y'all think that working there is a piece of cake, I'm here to tell y'all that it's fucking not. Cause most, if not all of the workers there had a story to say about what it was like to be working there, because you know, like, spirits be falling the fuck out of them. It's real life haunted vibes, y'all, like. But besides that, me and my friend actually got to hear a story by one of the security guards that work there, and he told us about his experience, you know, being followed by spirits home. I ended up getting to record some of what he said on here so that I can show y'all. I want y'all to listen to this shit because it is so real. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Spirits are real, paranormal activity is real, demonology is very real. It's up to you to believe in that, but besides that, here's the clip now.
And so to get to your question, when I first started here, 2 weeks in, I was leaving my night shift. I take the bus, so I didn't get home till about 2 a.m. I didn't get to my bus stop till 2 a.m. And as I'm walking home, I have like a quarter-mile walk. You know that feeling you get when somebody's standing behind you? You can just sense them. Right. So I had that feeling the entire time I was walking home. As I was walking home, I kept on looking over my shoulder to see if there was anybody there. Nobody was there. I was on the phone with my cousin at the time, and I kept on telling him, hey, I feel like somebody's, trailing me. He said, there probably someone is. I'm like, it's 2 a.m., and there's no one outside on the streets. So, fast forward to a couple weeks later. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't finish. So when I got to my actual doorstep, I reached for my keys, and I was ready to go put them in the door, and then right behind my mirror, I hear chiming of what sounded like keys. And I turned my head, nothing there. And then, so fast forward 2 weeks later, I was laying down on my bed, and I had finished my graveyard shift. Laying on my bed, it was like 2 in the afternoon. I woke up and had this burning sensation on my forearm. I looked down and there was a gash on my forearm. And I looked by myself, okay?
There's no physical lie on your bed. You could turn around and roll around.
No, not for the gash on the forearm. It healed. It didn't heal like a typical scar. It healed like an actual burn. And so
it flaked off and you did the whole thing.
So these are regular. So that's
I can tell that's a burn because this is what that is.
Yep.
And that's a burn.
Yeah.
That's
Okay, I thoroughly enjoyed hearing the story from the security guard. I would love to hear experiences specifically from all the workers. They do tell you some of the things that they've experienced when you're on the tour, but I'd love to, like, as an outside person who's not on a tour at the exact moment, be able to, like, see TikToks of people sharing their stories of working there. I mean, they probably experience at least one crazy thing a day. But hearing the security guard talking about his experience, especially after he left the premises and it like kind of following him home, is so interesting to me. Our next TikToks by the user, Into the Further.
Spooky story time on our experience at the Zach Bagans Haunted Museum. If you don't know, Zach Bagans is the lead investigator in the show Ghost Adventures, and he has a haunted museum in Las Vegas. My husband and I went for the first time in 2019, and my husband is very skeptical. I believe in everything, and he feels like everything always has an explanation, which is fine. At this museum, Zach Bagans owns so many crazy things, like things that belong to Charles Manson, John Wayne Gacy, all the murders, and the most haunted artifact known is the Dybbuk box, and he is the owner of that as well. So you can just imagine the levels of spook inside that place, and it's huge, it's massive. So we go through the whole tour, living our best life. At the very end, there is a gift shop, and then when we're done shopping, we wait for our Uber to take us back to the strip. As we're waiting, my husband is kind of like doing that, and I'm like, what happened? And I lift his shirt up, and there's red markings, like a scratch up here, and it's red. Of course, he brushed it off. He's like, I probably scratched myself with something. Cool. What's crazy is that when we went to Vegas, we had 2 of our dogs that were pregnant, both of them at the same time. We left them with my in-laws, and soon when we got back from Vegas, we had the worst luck ever. Both of our dogs go into labor, and all of their puppies unfortunately pass away. Every single one of them. We also found out that we were pregnant, and unfortunately we did have a miscarriage as well. One of the craziest things that I also noticed is that on our house, and only on our house, on top of our house and along our privacy fence, was crows. Not one crow, two crows, like so many crows just sitting on top of our house and along our gate, to the point where even our neighbor brought it up, and he's like, what are y'all doing over there? Like, why is there so many black crows on top of your house? We still have gone to visit the Zach Bagans Haunted Museum 2 or 3 more times. It's an amazing experience, but if you go, make sure that you cleanse yourself, that you sage yourself, that you sage your space, that you respect that space, because I do feel that something followed us, and like I mentioned, we had the worst luck ever. So if you go to Las Vegas to the Zach Bagans Haunted Museum, be very wary, don't touch anything, because I'm not a skeptic, and especially experiencing all of those things, I'm definitely 100% a believer. So just be careful, and just know that before you go in, you are definitely going to have to sign a waiver.
Our next TikTok's by the user, NaturallyVB.
Story time on my experience with Zach Bagans Haunted Museum. So over the weekend, I was in Las Vegas. It was my first time ever visiting the city, and I will preface this as saying I am someone who works with tarot cards. I've given people psychic readings before, done mediumship readings for them, and I've had experience with different kind of paranormal activities. So I've also watched some ghost hunter shows, obviously, and I'm a little bit familiar with Zach Bagans, but I definitely should have done a lot more research and looking into this before I decided to go to the museum. So I was there with a friend, and I've only ever had paranormal experiences that have been generally positive, and I've also never had an experience where I've like physically felt something from an object or an energy. It's all been more clairvoyant or claircognizant, where I would like see images or just have more of like a knowing kind of feeling. And I'd say Vegas in general had just like a very eerie sort of feeling to it. I had an instance where we were in the Luxor Hotel, and I was standing in the atrium, and I didn't really know the history of this hotel at all, but I just knew, like I said to the person I was with, that I just have a really eerie feeling being in here. And come to find out later on, I did learn that there's a history of people dying and a lot of accidents happening and taking place. So that was my first kind of experience stepping into a space and feeling like the energy is just completely off. So we had decided to go to the museum. Like I said, I was on vacation in Vegas for my first time, and so I wasn't really thinking to look into this museum all that much. Like, I'd heard of it, but I just really didn't put 2 and 2 together. I thought it was just going to be a quick little museum that you walk through that's maybe an hour-long experience at most, that you just kind of go through at your own pace with some different objects, and we'd be done in like an hour. So we get to the house, and I find out that it's a 2-hour tour. And while we're sitting there, they're playing videos of Zach and different ghost hunter shows talking about different experiences that people have had in the house. So I didn't realize that it was actually a house that a family had owned that has a really, really dark history. And so I was immediately just feeling like super uneasy and just really, really did not want to be there. But I had already bought the ticket, and I was like, I'm here. I'm going to just see what this experience is like. But again, I was super nervous going into it because I've had paranormal activity experiences with people, and every psychic reading I've gone to, they've also told me that I am a medium. So I knew out of like anyone in the group that I was with, I was probably going to be experiencing the most kind of discomfort and paranormal activities. It was a really nice sunny day outside, and as soon as I stepped into that house, there was just such a dark, eerie, creepy, demonic feel to it. Like, I'm not usually one to throw that around lightly, but it was just such an overwhelming feeling that I've never experienced before, and it just really like gives me the creeps to even think about it. I think making this video is kind of helping me process my experience a little bit more. So I was already really super on edge, and I just felt like this is a space that we truly just should not be in. And so all of the rooms are kind of set up where you go in, it's an exhibit, they play a video talking about the objects in the room and the relevance of the room, and show you videos of people from the tour where things have just really happened. And so the first room that I was in, it was just such a dark, awful energy surrounding it. It was a room where they were playing audio from someone having an exorcism. And so I was sitting there. I haven't up until this point been a very religious person, but I was just like praying the whole time I was in there. And so we moved on to the next room, which was a Dr. Kevorkian room. And they're playing the footage from a previous tour. And in the footage, you see someone start to faint. And so I'm looking around the room a little bit. I'm like looking at the objects in the display case. It's like set up like a medical doctor's office. And I just had this very weird sensation come over my whole body. It felt like almost calming in a way, but like just like it felt like something was there, and I just did like some shoulder rolls to kind of like brush it off a little bit. And so I continue watching the video, and all of a sudden I feel like I'm going to start to faint. I feel that lightheadedness come over me, and I just like step back and stand against the wall. So that was my first kind of full body paranormal experience that happened in the museum. And I just would not leave the corner of that room at all. And so we go into some of the other exhibits. The next one was a serial killer room, which had a lot of different objects from like Ted Bundy. You get the vibe. And I couldn't even look at anything in the display cases. I felt like someone was staring at me and like watching me. And it was just like such a creepy, evil, heavy feeling. And so we go into another room, which was, I felt safer in, which was like a library with different objects from Al Capone, the gangster. And I just felt like a lot more safe in that space. And then I think I really just was like heavily dissociating during the whole tour because it was just really freaking me out. There was a fun house that you have to walk through with like creepy clown stuff and like a haunted clown costume. And as soon as I stepped foot into the fun house, I kind of knocked over into the wall. And it felt like someone had pushed me because there wasn't anyone else on this side of me. And I just like immediately fell over into the wall. And then there's a room with a mechanical part from James Dean's Porsche that was haunted and cursed. And in that room, I remember standing there and I felt like a very heavy cold spot in front of me. And I looked up and there was an air vent, but there wasn't any air actually blowing on me. It was just sitting there like a heavy cold feeling. And then I started feeling like hot all over and just like really uncomfortable and a little bit lightheaded. So there were a lot of rooms that I just would not go into at all and I would completely avoid. But that was my experience with the museum. I really wish I had done a lot more research going into it. I think I would have opted out of it completely. When I got home, I couldn't even talk. I felt so disturbed and creeped out. I had to take a shower. I did an egg cleanse. I put salt at my door. I lit some candles. I was like sleeping, like clutching my crystals the whole night. So enter at your own risk. I know a lot of people are into that stuff and it's cool and exciting to them, but for me it was just like such a creepy, awful experience, and I would never go back in there. I don't think you could pay me to step foot in there. So
one thing that I think I might touch on towards the end of the video, but I do want to talk about because of this TikTok, is they definitely play things to try and get you into a state of fear before you even go in. I mean, while you're waiting in line to get into your tour group, they're playing these videos, like she said, of clips of ghost adventures and history about some of the things you might see, and like they're definitely hyping it up. And not that it needs to be hyped up, because it is crazy to begin with. It is paranormal. There are, ridiculous stories behind these things, but they definitely hype you up and hype up the danger and paranormal factor before you get in there. And there are many things in there, like they definitely change the temperatures of certain rooms and push smells into rooms and play clips of people passing out or getting sick or something. So it kind of tricks you into being like, oh my God, did it just get hot in here? But you walked into the room and it's hotter. For ambiance, there's a gross smell that's like, oh, maybe this is demonic, but they're really pumping it in there. Like Disney World. Well, the exact opposite of Disney World. Or they're playing these videos because they want you to see, oh my God, this is so paranormal that someone passed out here. And then you get in your head and you essentially subconsciously trick yourself into passing out or feeling sick or something. While I 100% believe these entities and things can cause you to be sick, we know that these things can cause a number of reactions. Like, that's 100% true. But, and I personally did have a physical reaction when I was in the museum. But I do want to point out there that they also do add things because they want to elicit a response from you. The crazier the experience you have, the more likely you are to tell people and be like, oh my God, this is insane, and other people are going to want to go for themselves. Or like me, where I did have a physical reaction and I didn't experience it to the best of my abilities, I feel like. And so I want to go back, because I want to go back with a clean slate and try again, which is almost insane, especially once I tell you how I felt at the beginning. But they definitely, while it is real and any number of things can happen to you, they definitely do try to amp it up. Our next TikTok's by the user, DJ.
I hate it. Okay, not that this is any better, but my body dysmorphia is set to change. So I saw a video a couple days ago of this group of friends who went to the Zach Bagans Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. The whole video, I'm sure people have seen it. It was like how they felt before and how they felt after going. We're actually going to Vegas tomorrow, and I felt like I should maybe do a little story time on when my husband and I went to that museum. I think we went in like 2017, maybe 2018. Just kidding, it was 2019. Yeah, that's the picture that I took. I was super pumped to go. I love scary things. I love dead things. I'm disgusting. So I was super stoked. We waited in line for like 2 hours, signed a ton of waivers. I felt completely okay and fine before we went in. I'm not even kidding when I say when we walked into the actual museum, the first room you walk in, there's a lot of like dolls and I think there was like skulls, like human skulls in this case, and the tour guide was talking to us, and within maybe 30 seconds of being in that room, I immediately felt nauseous. Like, I was at the point where I'm like, okay, I should probably not do this now because I feel like I'm going to be sick. I felt so nauseous and sick and dizzy and hot, and it wasn't even that hot in the building. I began to get very anxious, and I panicked. It was so weird. I remember that I didn't want to make eye contact with any of the artifacts that were in the room, if that makes sense. So as the tour's going on, my husband doesn't know that like I don't feel that good. I was just trying to remain calm, and also like I didn't want to get taken out because we spent like $100 some to go through this tour, and it's a long tour. It's like 2.5 hours long. Towards the end of the tour, I got a raging headache, like migraine level headache out of nowhere. It hit me within maybe 10 minutes, 0 to 100, horrible migraine headache. I was so beyond excited when it was over. When we left, we exited through the building, and Justin, my husband, looked at me and he's just like, "Are you okay?" And so weird, I'm a Pisces, but I just started bawling, crying. We parked our car pretty close to where the museum was. We had to walk maybe a quarter of a mile back. I'm crying hysterically the entire time. We are in Las Vegas. It is like maybe 6 p.m. at night now. The whole night we could go out, do whatever we want. I wanted to do nothing. By the time we got back to the hotel, I remember telling him, I just want to go take a shower. I feel so nauseous, so queasy. The hot water hopefully will help. It was the weirdest experience. I remember when I was in the shower, I felt like the room, as I was in the shower, I felt like almost like someone took the lights and dimmed it. And I thought I was like losing my shit at this point. And then I thought my husband came in the bathroom. Swear to God, I saw a shadow go from this side of my face, like the shower wall, and then around the shower curtain. Swear to God. All while I have a headache and I'm trying not to throw. Were you in the bathroom? And he's like, "No, I was sitting here watching TV this whole entire time." Bitch, what? So, yeah, I firmly believe that something either left with me, attached to me, something of the sort after leaving that museum. It is no joke. There are actual, like, skeletons. There's, for example, Charles Manson's ashes are there. Some stuff from serial killers. Just very gross things that most people shouldn't see is there. I'm not shaming that museum. I think it is absolutely incredible. And if you can withstand it, definitely go. I think it is an absolute must-see. Coolest museum I've ever been to, especially if you're into scary, spooky stuff. But I will never be going back.
Our next TikTok's with user Ray Mirage.
Spooky season story time. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw that I went to Vegas, and while there, I went to Zach's Haunted Museum. After I went through, I posted on my story that I regret going and that I would have a story time for it. This is almost 2 weeks ago, and I am sorry. I got so many messages of people asking, "Hey, where's the story time?" But I got sick, not because of the museum, but when I got home, I got sick and I wasn't able to record and tell the story. But here it is. But anyway, I went by myself. The people who were supposed to come with me, they kind of got a little freaked out because they heard the stories of spirits latching on to people and following people home. I feel like they only do that to pure people, and I'm a little unpure, so I don't think they're gonna latch onto me or follow me. So if you never heard of Zach's Haunted Museum, it's a museum that a guy named Zach owns, and he goes around the world buying haunted and cursed items and putting it in this museum. This museum actually has over 30 rooms with things in it where they tell the history and the stories behind these items. And if you get the VIP pass like I did, you get to go in a few extra rooms, including like the really haunted basement. But anyways, when I arrived, I was very high energy. I tell everyone I feel and read energy really well. I don't know why. When I was outside, I was very high energy. I was making jokes with the security guards and the tour guides and the people in my tour group. I was actually really excited. And if you know me, I love spooky things like this. I love hearing stories and things like that. I always ask everyone like, hey, did you ever see something before? I love this kind of stuff. But like I said, after I went in, I regretted it. There was 2 rooms in particular that made me feel very uneasy, very sick. Like I felt like I was gonna vomit. I felt dizzy, I felt faint. And one of the rooms is the rooms with the doll Peggy in it. When you walk in the room, you're supposed to tell her hi. When you leave, you're supposed to tell her bye. She actually has a spirit box next to her because she's known to communicate with people. So they tell you don't look into her eyes, don't look at her. Apparently, if people even look at her through pictures, they start feeling really sick. So when I walked in, I didn't even look at her, but I did say hi, Peggy. They had the box again next to her, but she didn't speak through it. They did say she hasn't really been talking for the past few weeks, so I didn't really expect her to talk. But as soon as I walked in, I felt so uneasy. I felt like I wanted to faint. I kind of had to like squat down. I don't know why. Squatting down makes me feel more balanced, more level, but I felt really nauseous. Like I was this close to leaving, but again, I bought the VIP pass. So I spent like $80 something. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not going out. I want to continue to hear the stories. Peggy is like the 3rd or 4th room. So by the time that room came, like all my excitement left. I felt very sick. Like throughout the whole time, I had to keep kneeling, and not kneeling, but squatting and leaning against the walls. From there, the 2nd room that made me feel really uncomfortable was the room with the rocking chair in it from the movie The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. So the interesting thing about this room is I have a huge statue of a devil. According to the story that was told when we go in, that devil, that figure was supposed to be in the movie, but bad things started happening on set, and it freaked out a lot of people where they completely removed that devil from the movie and then put the nun in it, and that's how the nun got into the movie. So the guy who owns it, Zach, he actually paid like $1 million something for both the rocking chair and the figure. He got the figure that's from the movie, and he also bought the real rocking chair that the people who were possessed used to see the devil rocking in. As soon as I walked in, again, I started feeling more nauseous, more dizzy, more faint. I had to squat more. The lady next to me, she started rubbing her back to the point where she starts making her boyfriend, husband, whatever, rub her back as we're standing there. A few minutes in, as the story is being broadcast, a lot of the stories are broadcast from like a TV, and they tell the history and the stories and stuff that happened to people. They say that people who go near the chair or sit on the chair, bad things happen to them, and while they're sitting in the chair, they complain of back pain. So as soon as they said people get back pain from going close to the chair or sitting on the chair, everybody kind of looked at that lady like, oh girl, get out. Shortly after, I felt like something whacked my right ankle. Again, I'm standing up, squatting, standing up, squatting. So I don't know if my ankles is like small kind giving out. They're like, come on, you're going up and down. This is a little bit of work for us. But I did feel like something hit my ankle. But I made it through all 30 something rooms. But after that, I had the most uncomfortable feeling. I don't feel like nothing followed me or anything, but the whole night I felt so sick. I felt nauseous but couldn't throw up. I felt dizzy and faint. I had to lay down. I wanted to like sleep and sleep it off, but I couldn't sleep. Like I was calling my friends, like telling them what happened. I was texting my friend, my very Christian friend, like, hey, pray for me. Like I don't feel good. When I finally fell asleep, everything was good. I had no bad dreams, not waking up to anything. And next morning I felt perfectly fine. But I do regret going again because that feeling of uneasiness was like horrible. In hindsight, I'm a huge realist. I am the type that I gotta see to believe or witness something to believe. There gotta be proof of something for me to believe in something. So looking back, I did notice that through the whole museum, there's like a really funny smelling, and there's also a lot of lights. So me and a lot of other people could feel sick from those 2 factors. That is my story time. Sorry it's not exciting as everyone probably thought it would be, like I got attacked or something, but yeah, that's it. If you feel like you are brave enough and you take it on, go and visit Zach's Haunted Museum in Las Vegas.
Now, I'll tell you this about my experience now because it's not really that significant. I was in and out of that Peggy the doll room so quick. I think I heard like highs and hays like from her through the spirit box. It was nothing like significant, but I literally, it's like kind of like a loop. She's like here, and then there's like a loop to go in one door and out the other. So I literally was like, hi Peggy, bye Peggy. And I just went straight out. I just followed the leader straight back out. I didn't stick around. I did not look her in the eyes. I kept my eyes planted directly on my feet at all times. I personally didn't want to mess with her. When I go back, because I for sure am gonna make it happen, my eyes will stay planted on my feet once again. I'm not messing with that personally. I'll say hi, bye, and I am out of there. Honestly, like, I don't even have a reason to go back in the second time. I have no reason to potentially mess up my life by disrespecting her, looking her in the eyes when I shouldn't. Anytime I've ever seen a clip of her, I look away. But if you saw Peggy, if you looked her in the eyes, if she said anything to you on the spirit box, let me know. I'm really interested to hear about it. I just want nothing to do with that personally. Our next TikTok's by the user, Perry Simone.
Okay, so I've been seeing everyone talk about their experiences at Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum, and I wanted to talk about mine. I love everything paranormal, so I knew that any time that I went to Vegas, I was going to have to go. And I've only been twice. The first time I went, I was uncomfortable the entire time. Like, even when we were standing outside to be let in, even as we were like driving up and enter the property, I felt super uncomfortable, and I felt like that the entire time. The only time I felt like myself was when I was back at my hotel after the tour was over. And I don't know, like, I also felt like I was being watched, and it was really creepy to look in the direction where I felt like it was coming from and to see no one standing right there. And at the end of the tour, I don't even know if they are doing this anymore, but we were able to do a spirit box session with one of the dolls, and something told me like not to ask any questions, so I didn't ask anything. I just stood there as people in my group asked questions, and it was very cool but also very terrifying to be in that room with this doll and other dolls and hear responses from the spirit box. Like, that was insane. The second time I went with some friends, and I felt completely fine. I felt fine when we were standing outside. I felt fine as we pulled up. I felt fine during the entirety of the tour, except for one instance. And that was when we were, I believe it was the Corkian van. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He's the doctor who was doing like assisted suicides, and I had seen this before. Like, this was on the tour, the first tour that I went on. So I mean, this was all, it wasn't like new to me, but I suddenly felt lightheaded, and it kind of just hit me out of nowhere. Like, I was standing there, and then all of a sudden I felt like I was gonna pass out. I felt dizzy. Like, I honestly felt like I needed to sit down. And I went up to the tour guide and I asked her, I was like, hey, I need some water. She gave me some water, and she asked me what was going on. And I said, yes, I just feel very, very lightheaded. And she was like, yeah, that's not uncommon to experience in there. And as soon as we left that room, I was fine. Like, there was nothing wrong. And like, I made sure to monitor myself more, like even throughout the tour. And when we were able to see the stairs of Demon House, I stayed because I wanted to see. And as soon as I did, something told me to get out. I was like, yep. I said, I need to leave. Whatever told me to get out, I was gonna listen to it. And I left. And I still made sure that, I was respectful throughout, you know, the entire tour, even the first time I went, saying hello, goodbye, because I didn't want anything following me home. I didn't want any attachments or anything like that. But it was a little trippy because, like I said, the first time I didn't experience anything like that, and then to go back a second time and to just feel lightheaded like that, it was honestly a little scary. Because I felt like I was gonna fall over. I felt like I needed to hold on to something to keep me up. Is this gonna keep me away? No. I'll be back at some point. I enjoy going, and I know Zach is always like adding to his collection of things in the museum. So I mean, I'm gonna be back.
Our next 3 TikToks are by the user Ghost Gossip Pod.
On this week's episode of Ghost Gossip, we are talking about Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum located in Las Vegas, Nevada, where we visited for my 40th birthday. Zach Bagans is the host of the Travel Channel's Ghost Adventures. He opened the Haunted Museum in Las Vegas in 2017. The Haunted Museum is actually in one of the oldest houses in the city. It's built in 1938 and it spans for 13,000 square feet. This house is like a maze, and it's like it never ends. The house itself has a very dark history. It is said that the former owner died in this house and that he still kind of roams the house in the halls and his energy still fills the house. It is also said used to be dark rituals performed in the basement. Before it was a haunted museum, this location was home to the Nevada State Bar, and they came up with a buddy system because the house was just creepy and dark. It got a very spooky and sinister feeling. Dolls are everywhere. Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum is home to thousands of artifacts. Some of the exhibits that you can see on the tour is one of the most haunted Divic boxes, Dr. Kevorkian's murder van, Peggy the doll, better tell her hello and goodbye, and a room full of serial artifacts, including Charles Manson's hair, Ted Bundy's little murder case, the ashes of Richard Ramirez, and drawings of Samuel Little. They are the drawings of his victims, and artwork by John Wayne Gacy. Other rooms that you can see on the tour is the staircase from Indiana's Demon House. He had purchased it to do paranormal experiments and to learn about it. After a few years of owning the Indiana Demon House, he had it torn down. There's a doll staring at us from the stairs, by the way, and the Devil's Rocking Chair. We stood right here. There's also so much more. Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum is not for the weak of heart, so if you have any kind of hesitation, I recommend maybe just going on the Sky Wheel. Listen to this week's episode of Ghost Gossip for our own personal thoughts and opinions and what we experienced at the museum, as well as since we've been home. Since we've been home. If you've enjoyed today's video, please like and follow and repost and do all the things that you do. As always, especially in that museum, they will see you later. Do you want to hear about our experiences after we left the Zach Bagans Haunted Museum? Sure you do. I have a tiny microphone. I'm not going to whisper though because I don't like ASMR because I'm old. Let me just start by saying, when we went to the Haunted Museum, we went with the intention of just experiencing the museum and seeing what it had to offer. We did not go to have a paranormal experience. We did not go to investigate. We only went as tourists to see what was it about. I had seen it on YouTube. I was really interested to see what was in there. I wasn't expecting anything what I saw, but great experience. It was a lot. Still processing it. They had told us that people experience poltergeist things, they get touched, they feel weird energy, people pass out. We did not experience anything like that while we were there. After we left, however, my brother-in-law and I both had weird experiences within the first 24 hours after visiting the Haunted Museum. He was awoken at 2:30 in the morning after we left the museum, so the night of, hearing chanting coming from his hotel room. He woke up, he looked out the window, nothing. My sister is asleep. He looked out into the hall. There was nobody there. At lunch, he asked me if I had heard anything. I said, nope. That evening, I was getting ready for dinner, and I'm in the bathroom. It is just me and Daniel. He is in the shower, and I begin to hear the sounds of chanting. But it's not so much chanting, but it's the sound that they played on the speaker throughout the museum. And I was hearing it. It was very clear. And I'm like, is that in my head? And I'm looking around, and Daniel's just rinsing his head off. Like, he's like washing his bald head, and he's rinsing himself off in the shower. He's not doing anything to make like a song or anything like that. So I'm hearing this song, this chant in my head. Afterwards, Daniel gets out of the shower, and I'm like, did you hear that? And he said, hear what? And I'm like, okay, never mind. So I tell him later what I heard. We both agree it's just weird, right? It's just weird. And then we come home. Something on my bathroom vanity just fell. My toothbrush fell out of the cup into the sink. Okay, so we're gonna put this bad boy back in the cup. So this is part 2 to what happened, what we experienced after we left the Zak Bagans Museum. We were home. Our flight was great. It was smooth sailing. We got home fine. And the first night we were home, Daniel and I both had nightmares, like wicked nightmares, gory, gruesome nightmares. We have never had dreams like what we dreamed. And we both had them at the same time. But Daniel typically does not remember his dreams unless they are lucid dreams. And what he said he experienced was a very lucid dream, which was extra terrifying since he was having a night terror. What I experienced was my dream being gory, violent, and me being the violent party. It was unsettling, to say the least. Both of us having them at the same time and waking up and looking at each other like, I don't know what he dreamt, and he really doesn't know what I dreamt because we haven't talked about it, because it is so unsettling. Every night since we've been home, we've had relatively scary nightmares or very vivid dreams. I did not last night. I know I dreamt, but I can't remember. But it was just really odd that both of us had nightmares for at least the first 4 nights. We weren't expecting that. We knew that they told us that some people have nightmares after they leave. We weren't expecting to be in that part of that group. So it makes me wonder, if you've been to the Zak Bagans Museum, like, I want to hear. Comment, DM, whatever. Have you experienced something like that? Did you hear chanting? Did you have nightmares? Did you have any kind of poltergeist activity while you were there or after? I'm truly interested in knowing. I am fascinated. If you've gone to the museum, I want to hear about it. I want to know. Tell me everything. ASMR.
Our next TikTok's by the user, Kelly Gosuna.
I was very hesitant about posting this, but I'm finally gonna post about it. So in 2021, we went to Zak Bagans Haunted Museum with a group of friends, and so I can just say it was the most scary, craziest experience ever. A friend got diagnosed with MS. My son was in the ICU after that. And many other things happened in our group that I will not share because it's not my place to share. But something happened to a lot of people in our group. So I do believe that there's a lot of stuff that goes on in there. It's crazy how paranormal activity and like that can connect to you and attach to you and cause so many life changes. So Zak Bagans just posted a video on his Instagram about some noises that he heard at the Haunted Museum. And we experienced a lot of things in there. My friends were getting like their legs like kind of touched. The guys were getting their hair like touched. We also had the chance to meet the doll. I won't say the name because I respect her a lot, but yeah, we had the chance to meet her. And right after that, the first time we went to my brother-in-law's house, and his daughter was mentioning that name. His little 2-year-old daughter was mentioning that name a lot, which was crazy. It's a crazy experience. You do have to go with an open mind. I was skeptical at first, but so many things have happened that I definitely believe in every negative aspect that relies in that museum. I'm gonna post a video of Zak Bagans' activity that he was able to capture in his museum. Also, I don't have access to the whole videos, but you can always check them out in his Instagram. It's called The Real Zak Bagan. Just showed a little clip just so you guys can go find him on Instagram, but if you go see those videos, they are scary as hell.
Our next TikTok's with the user JenKai88.
What's up, guys? I am doing this video to talk about my experiences after visiting Zak Bagans' Haunted Museum in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm gonna try my best to keep this short. So I visited because I was in the area with 2 friends for a rock festival, and I wanted to do it in honor of my late husband because we absolutely loved Ghost Adventures, and he never got to go and he always wanted to go. So I said, oh, let's do it in honor of my husband a whole year and a half after his passing. So me and one friend went because the other one refused to step a single foot on the property. I don't blame her because the energy is very intense just from the parking lot, just from the street. So I will say that I got attacked so much, multiple times in the lobby before the tour even started. You know, they let you take pictures of the lobby, but once the tour starts, they ask you to turn your phones off. And I told my friend, I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can finish this tour. This is insane. Like, it didn't even start yet. Something was already trying to jump me, get inside of me, and I started getting short of breath. My body started shaking uncontrollably. It wasn't anything violent. It was like tremors, but still out of my control. And I got like pressure on my body, and then something just chilled right here in my shoulder. It felt like when your foot falls asleep and it starts to wake up. That tingling sensation, that's what it was. And it was coming and going throughout the entirety of the tour, which was 3 hours. So yeah, my other friend, she dropped us off and took my car and hung out in the mall for 3 hours. But right then I drew attention to myself, and we had a group of 13, and we had the all access, the RIP access, which includes like 5 extra rooms, and you get to tour the basement where apparently there were satanic rituals done, including human sacrifices. Had I known that, I would not have booked this tour, but I said I already spent the money, $81 a pop, so I might as well finish it. And people were already looking at me because of what I was reacting to, but I didn't care at that point. And the rooms that were the worst for me were ones that had items and things from people that liked to unalive other people for kicks. Like, they had some of Charles Manson's ashes with bone fragments. And why I say some of it is because his ashes were split up and Zak happened to get some of his ashes. So they had Ted Bundy's unaliving kit with things he used, and the Night Stalker's, I don't know, his items. I couldn't really pay attention because of all the energy and shit that was attacking me. They had pictures of victims, one of them being a 12-year-old female who I happened to connect to, and that was the first time I started hyperventilating. You know, I felt her emotions, her pain. I kneeled over in freaking pain, my stomach, my back, and I started crying uncontrollably, and, you know, just told her I'd pray for her, like I told a number of spirits that are stuck there. And their freaking stuff is on display, which is so disrespectful, and they can't rest. So that's all I could do. Another room was Dr. Kevorkian's office, whatever. They had all his stuff in there. They even had his freaking van. And I thought for sure I was going to pass out. I felt like 1,000 pounds had been dropped on my entire body. I felt like throwing up. I was, you know, wobbling like this back and forth because I lost my balance. And everybody was like staring, and I'm like going over into this corner, and I just like leaned over, hyperventilating. And I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I was like, oh no, I can't do it, I can do it. And then I hear my late husband, it's in your mind. Remember, it's mind games, it's all in your head, you're stronger. I'm like, okay. So I had to like calm myself down, and you know, that's very true, that spiritual warfare takes place in the mind, the battlefield of the mind. It is written in the Bible somewhere. I don't remember the verse, but I'll look it up, and maybe I'll post it in this video. But and then they have the notorious box that was cursed Post Malone. You can look it up. I don't want to say that word, but yeah, that was there. And it's funny because this guy pretty early on like noticed me reacting to things that I couldn't possibly have known were there until the tour guides started speaking about them. But he would like follow us around a little bit, like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out with that lady because she knows what's up, and what's over there, I'm not gonna stand over there. I would tell my friend, get away from that window, get away from that wall, because it would have certain things covered up, play a video, and then reveal them, and that's where said cursed item or object, whatever would be, that I couldn't have possibly known because I sensed it. But anyways, at the end of it, I was, you know, surprised that I made it through. And there was a room that was very graphic that I don't really want to speak about, but there were pictures Zach had gotten hold of that showed people who were tortured actively expiring. I don't want to get banned. Actively expiring because this person that liked to unalive them, you know, liked to do that. And that was another room that I bent over and hyperventilated and started crying uncontrollably in, because I connected to this person and got to feel all the physical and emotional things that they felt. And I, you know, just said, you know, I'll pray for you. Like, what else can I do? So I was the crazy lady over there throwing holy water all over my car, myself and my friend praying the St. Michael prayer in Latin before we left. I'm Roman Catholic and I'm a practicing Catholic, and this experience was very humbling and a rude awakening. We made it home back to California safely, but it was still a struggle. Like, I prayed the rosary before I went to sleep, and something was like, we're gonna get you in your dreams, and I was like, no, you're not. And I went to sleep and I didn't have any dreams. And then I went to mass in the morning, and then I texted my cousin who is a Roman Catholic priest, and I met with him because he's like, they made you sign a waiver. And I'm like, yeah. And you still went? I said, yeah. He's like, and he laughs. He's like, you cracked me up. You messed up. I said, no, I did. Yeah, the waiver was the first red flag. But me wanting to go to a circus and being a freaking clown, I still went. So he prayed. He did like some minor rite of exorcism over me because it was very bad, and deliverance prayers. And he's like, for 3 hours. And he's like, pray the rosary on your way home. I said, okay. And this is where it gets very scary and serious. I lost consciousness 3 times on the freeway. It was on the interchange, changing from one freeway to another, and thank God it was like really trafficy, because I don't know, like, it probably would have crashed. There's no doubt in my mind it would have crashed. And I was not tired. It was like something stole my consciousness. Now, I opened Spotify with my voice thingy on my car because I don't like to mess with my phone when I'm driving. And so the first thing that popped up was like the Joyful Mysteries. It started playing, and that's when that started happening to me. It's like something did not want me to pray the rosary. Well, I finished, but when I had 3 Hail Marys left, that was when I blacked out the longest. And when I came, I don't remember how long. I have no recollection. I could probably check my dash cam and see if I catch something or whatever, and see how long I was out for. But the car that was right in front of me was like over 100 feet in front of me, because it was a tiny little dot, and there were no cars behind me, so I'm assuming they went around my car. And there were still cars on the freeway, and I was like, what the heck is going on? So I finished praying, and then I got off the freeway. And, you know, thank God my foot was on the brake, and I was at a complete stop. So I went home, prayed the rosary again. I texted my cousin, who was the priest, and he didn't reply because I guess it was pretty late. So I went to sleep, went to mass the next day, and right after mass I just started driving over there, because it's about half an hour, 45 minutes from where I live, where his parish is. And he's also spiritually gifted, so that makes it, you know, it's cool. So, you know, he calls me and he's like, where are you? Are you okay? Like, what happened? And so I told him, and he's like, okay, I can go to your house. I was like, you know what, I'm like already halfway here. I'm like 10 minutes away. He's like, oh, okay. So then I went over there, and he prayed for another 3 hours over me, and he did an exorcism on me, and a lot of stuff came out, and I felt a lot of the things that I was physically experiencing in that museum. And also I noticed this thing was stealing his consciousness as well. It was like taking him, and he would like come to, like I was doing the same, like what I was doing. And he would say like, Jesus, stop this evil spirit from stealing mine and my sister Adrian's consciousness. And then he would start praying again. He kept doing it multiple times, but eventually, you know, the stuff got out. And this is a turning point for me, because I said I thought I would have been strong enough, and he said you would have been, but the sin made you weak. The drinking in excess made you weak. The sex out of marriage made you weak. And some other things that were skeletons in my closet that, you know, he spoke on, you know, that it went away. He gave me confession again, and that little bit just left after that, and it's a turning point. So wake up, people. This stuff is real. Get right with God. Get your life straight.
When I was talking about a video of someone passing out earlier, the Dr. Kevorkian room is the room where they show someone passing out. And it's like specifically a video of someone passing out in that room that they play for you. And I do believe it is to kind of psych you out and make you think that you could also pass out. And, you know, I mean, the more clips they get of people passing out, the more they can use it to prove that this museum's crazy and you need to go see this because it actually makes people sick. Well, yes, I believe it does, and that may be the case. You know, the more clips they get of it, the better their ratings, essentially. So there is a little bit of half and half here. I mean, I can't say what made her feel sick, whether it was her psyching herself out or if it was actually an effect on the paranormal, because I'm not her. I do think it's really interesting how she says that it's like her husband's voice brought her back and helped her get through it. I will say that without knowing her or being there, I am fairly certain that he was in fact there with her. And even though he wasn't there physically, he was able to experience it with her. Our next TikTok is by the user Kurapika's Akaku.
I went to the Zach Bagans Museum and experienced something paranormal. Story time! So first I was the only person who was alone. Everyone else had like a partner with them or something. And I was the first one in line when we just got in. And first I see like something like a shadow figure out of the corner of my eye. I like look and there's no one there. So I was like, whatever. This is not what the video is about, because, you know, I'm in a haunted place. Maybe my brain just kind of expects to see something, so it did. Like, but whatever. So we do the tour, which was really cool, by the way. And at one point they like jump scare us with like a door opening. That's not really a door, it's like a wall, and then out of nowhere it just opens and everyone's like, ah! So after that we go into this little room and we go in through like a normal door, and she's like, hi, by the way, you're not going out through this door, so like after the little video's done playing, what's gonna happen is that that wall's gonna open and we're not trying to jump scare you again, so I'm just like letting you know that that's gonna open and not that door. And we were all like, okay. And because she said that and we weren't like gonna use the same door we went through, I just kind of like went like this, like almost touching the door, because the room was kind of crowded and I was just like, I have more space here and no one's gonna open it, so whatever. So I'm standing like a few inches from the door. Then the video stops playing, and I can't remember exactly if it was slightly before or slightly after like the wall opens. I just hear the door behind me opening, like this kind of. So I just like run forward because I just like assumed it was one of the tour guides like coming in through, and I didn't want to get hit by the door. Like, that's so embarrassing. I was slightly confused because she did say like we were going through the other door, but I was like, maybe like she opened this one for some reason. So the door just like slams open like this. And I'm like, that is not supposed to happen. But everyone in the room is like, oh, haha. So I'm like, okay, maybe I heard it wrong and it is meant to happen. But because I'm by the door and it like nearly hit me and missed me by like an inch. I'm not American, I don't know inches. I have no idea what an inch is. I'm sorry if that's like a lot. But because I'm nearby, I check, I go into the hallway, I look, no one. I check the door, it doesn't seem to have a mechanism. So I'm like, and then after I checked, everyone's still like, eh. And I'm there like, why did this door open? And then the guide is standing by the big door, the one that was meant to open. And she's like, did anyone open that door? And everyone goes, no, it just opened. And she was like, is anyone there? And I said, no, I just checked, the hallway's completely empty. And she just looks at me, she's like, well, that's not meant to happen. Like, she's like, I swear that was not meant to happen. And we were all like, oh, lovely. So, yeah, the door opened by itself. And unless it's like a huge conspiracy and the tour guides are like making it up for clout or whatever, which I don't think is the case. I thought maybe because like the other door is opening, maybe there's something that like pushed this door to open. Well, not this door, but you know, because but it wasn't at the same time. And I checked the door and it didn't seem to have anything like moving it. And the tour guide said that's not happened before. And it would have happened before if it was like the mechanism of the big door. So yeah.
Our next two TikToks are by the user Breaking Tito.
We went to Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum in Las Vegas.
So I think it's about time that I speak about this because I actually visited this place. My boyfriend and I went to Las Vegas for my birthday week, and we met up with my best friends Laura and Brigitte. And the whole time that we were there, we were obviously partying and all that stuff, but they had told us to go and buy the tickets, and we bought them for the next day, and we went. And while we were there, I had one of the most scariest, well, my boyfriend and I actually had one of the most scariest experiences. If you don't know me already and you're meeting me for the first time here on this video, my name is Tito, and I'm a psychic medium practitioner, spiritist from the religion of Santeria in Lucumi. And my boyfriend is also a Santero of 35 years. I know a minute is not enough time. There are a lot of very interesting rooms that are very much possessed. And I say possessed in a very respectful manner. But there was one room in particular where I got touched or scratched, actually. And if you want to know more about that experience in itself, you know, comment, like, and share for part 2. Okay, I'm gonna finish. Jeez. So if you're watching this for the first time, go back to my video. It'll explain to you what I'm talking about. But to continue part 2. The infamous Zach Bagans Haunted Museum. In this museum, I actually went with my partner, like I said in the last video. And it was literally one of the most energetic and most creepy feelings I've ever had in my entire life when it came down to actually visiting a haunted place. I'm going to start talking about this one first and then get to the other ones. But I walked in here, right in here in this cell, and they were telling about what type of, serial killers were locked up and the different type of artifacts that they had and everything like that. In this wall right here, there's a lock of hair from one of the most known serial killers. I forgot who it was in particular. But I was really being the most curious, and I'm like, oh, look, there's actual hair. And I tapped the frame. I should have never done that shit in my life. I immediately, right when tapping that, I started feeling very ill. Like, I started feeling very nauseous. I started feeling weak. I felt like somebody was breathing on me. I moved from back there to the very front door where we walked in from. If you don't know already, in the museum, they're not allowed photography. You can't put your phones out. You can't do nothing. Like, you can't record anything in this place. But there is a room in specific prior to that cell room that we walked into, and my partner and I were very spiritual. We're very spiritually inclined. We literally walked in. My boyfriend ended up feeling really strong energy, like if spirits wanted to come down, and I started feeling extremely shaky and very weak, and we literally walked right back out. We felt as if we were going to get possessed immediately, and it was more in the sense because there's literally 2 corpses that are sitting in the middle of the room, and they're real people. It's like real bodies. Out of all the rooms that were like extremely supercharged with energy, this room in itself, the van room, was the most peaceful I've ever felt in my entire life. This room in particular was the most peaceful room I've ever felt in the entire museum. The storyline, the doctor itself that used to help these sick and very drug-addicted people, he basically let them deal with their addictions and unalivings, especially if they were supremely sick. A1 job, and I bless that man's spirit to this day. I had a chance to go and visit the witch's room where they tell you not to look directly into the mirror when you're walking down. And I can honestly say that one of my friends, Brigitte, when she walked down there and she looked entirely into the mirror, I saw someone else trying to grab her, and I literally had to scream at her to bring her back out. But this infamous room here, it's in the basement. You only get to go in there if you have the RIP access, which is like a VIP access. This is the room where I got scratched in. And if you want to hear that story, you're going to have to like, comment, and share for part 3. Sorry, guys.
I will say, I personally don't believe that Dr. Kevorkian was a bad guy. I think doctor-assisted suicide should be legal everywhere. Obviously, with rigorous background checks and make sure you're in the right mental state, a strict process for it. And so I believe that, if someone is terminal, they should have the right to be able to say, I want to opt out now, instead of waiting until my body deteriorates. I don't know all the states that it's legal in, but I know it is legal in Washington state due to the fact that I watch Grey's Anatomy. But I really truly believe that it should be legal in every state. I believe people should have that right. And I think that while what he did is illegal, there were good intentions behind it. And it wasn't like a Ted Bundy situation. It's like he was helping people choose to end their life in a way that's not traumatic to family members finding them or painful. You know, he's doing it in a medical way, especially if they're going to do it anyway. If they're going to do it at home, their family member's going to have to find them, clean up after them, and they're going to be in pain their last few moments. A humane option is to have doctor-assisted suicide. So I don't think he's a bad person, but yeah, what he did is illegal. Just shouldn't be. Our next TikTok is by the user Los Perdidas.
Hello! So we have about 2 weeks left until Beyond Wonderland, and I still have 2 DIYs of my accessories for one of my outfits. I'm not gonna say what it is because I'm so excited about it, but just know it's gonna fucking slay. I have all of the things right here. I have my belt that I'm gonna DIY, and then I have these little hoop things to make jewelry. I have, oh, my hair. I have seashells that I'm gonna put the little hoops in, and then I have my pliers. So let's get started on the seashells. I already finished one little baggie, but I have one more baggie left. Yeah. So, okay, so I guess I'm just gonna talk through this and tell you a story of what's been going on. So, recently, I went to Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum in Vegas, and I've been having some really weird things happening ever since then. If you have ever been to Zach Bagans' museum, please let me know down below because it's kind of creepy. And I didn't think anything was gonna happen to me because, I don't know, I just didn't think anything was gonna happen. But I have a few stories that came out of it. The first one is that me and my group went into the museum, right? And we got into the exhibit where they have a little chapel with like pictures and things about the exorcism of Emily Rose. And right off the bat, like I got really weird like energy from that. It was very, very heavy, and I've been very prone to like spirits attaching themselves to me. But like I said, I never thought anything would happen. So anyways, so we're in the chapel, right? And we're just listening to the story of Emily Rose. I think it was Emily Rose. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Emily Rose. And so then there's shelves. So we were sitting down, and there's shelves like up above where they have like holy spirits and like religious symbols just to keep the positive thoughts in there. And when you're watching the documentary or like the presentation, they tell you like please keep positive thoughts while you're in here because Emily Rose or the spirit, the demon that possessed her, will try to attach itself to someone else. So I tried my best to keep positive thoughts. I kept the prayer in my mind the whole time. But at one point I remember looking up at the shelves with the holy spirits on it, and I felt my chair just kind of rocking back and forth, and I was like, what the fuck, like what's going on? And so then I went and I asked the rest of my group if they had anything like that experience, and they were like, no, like we didn't have anything, like we didn't experience anything, like you must just be going crazy. And I was like, no, I'm not fucking going crazy because I know what I felt. So then afterwards, I was like, okay, whatever, maybe I am just tripping. And so me and my group got the VIP access, so we went down to the basement. And when we were down at the basement, I could have swore that I saw a figure out in the corner of, there was a chair. So, okay, backtrack. So the basement is where they hold a lot of like satanic rituals, and they had like figures on the walls, and like I said, the energy was just very, very heavy. And we did like a little loop around down there, and I swear I saw a figure in the corner sitting down on the chair, which was really weird, whatever. I was with my group, so I wasn't that scared. But then afterwards, we went to another exhibit, which was another exorcism that had happened. And at the beginning of the tour, they tell us that we have to turn off our phones just because they don't want people like ruining the experience or like posting anything online, which understandable. So I turned off my phone, and we were at the very last exhibit, and we kept it was another exorcism, and that exhibit had like pictures of the person that was getting an exorcism, and I was looking at the pictures while someone in my group was looking into the other little room that was also in there. And so he goes, oh yeah, like come over here, like look at this. And so as soon as I go and look into the room, I look at, there was a Ouija board in that room, and as soon as I look at the Ouija board, my phone vibrates. And I was like, what the fuck, like why did my phone vibrate? I turned off my phone at the beginning of the tour. So I go up to him and I'm like, hey, like my phone just turned on, like as soon as I looked at the Ouija board, like this is fucking weird. And then all of a sudden I just get this like really strong and depressing urge to, not urge, but like just this really strong feeling of feeling depressed. And it wouldn't go away. I was just like, what the fuck is happening? Like I didn't feel like this at the beginning of the tour. I came in with an open mind. I kept positive thoughts, and I don't know what is happening. So that was that. And then afterwards we got out, we went to the museum. Hi baby! Look at my little baby. This is Astro. Say hi. Say hi baby, say hi. Okay, my love. Get off. Off, baby. Off. Come on. Off. No, off. Come on. Off. It's okay. Off. Right there. Sit. Yeah, baby, right there's good. So after the tour, we went to the gift shop, and then I looked at my phone, and my phone had a bunch of notifications that had happened right before my phone turned on. But I only felt one. I only felt one notification vibrate, and that was as soon as I looked at the Ouija board. And it was fucking weird. And ever since then, I've been experiencing some really weird stuff. When I got home that night, I was brushing my teeth and looking into the mirror, and as soon as I look into the mirror, I kind of black out. I asked someone, like, what happened, you know, like, what, did I brush my teeth, did I not brush my teeth? And they're like, yeah, you were brushing your teeth the whole time. I I was like, I don't remember brushing my teeth. I remember looking into the mirror and I blacked out. And I don't remember anything after that. And they were like, yeah, like you were brushing your teeth. I heard the brushing the whole time. I was like, what the fuck? So then yesterday, I was getting ready to go to the gym also. And I was grabbing my stuff to leave. And then I just had, I remember very specifically, it was 10 o'clock p.m. and I was heading to the gym. But then I was grabbing my little backpack to leave. And I blacked out again. And I was just standing over the couch, just looking. And then I was like, what the... And then I like came back to like, I guess reality. And I looked at the time again and it was 10:12. So I was standing at the couch for about 12 minutes, just, I don't know what I was doing. I was by myself. It was just me and my dog. And I don't know what happened. But it's been happening ever since I went into the museum. So if you go into the museum, beware. Just keep positive thoughts and you might still have something happen. I guess that's all I can say. But anyways, I pretty much have everything done. I already finished all of these. I might just wait to do this tomorrow. I'm not sure yet. Because Alexis is coming over tomorrow, so I might just finish it off with her. But if I do, thank you for listening to my story. I really appreciate you. But yeah, Zak Bagans' Haunted Museum really is haunted.
Our next TikTok's with user Quaison City Queen.
So I noticed a lot of people are talking about their experience at the Zak Bagans Museum, and I've been, so I wanted to hop on. We went October in 2022, and it was a friend of mine's bachelorette party, and she was very into anything spiritual and haunted, so we did that. The area that Zak Bagans Museum is in is pretty weird. It's like outside of the art district in Vegas, and I don't really know how to describe the area. It's like very low traffic, but there's a couple of homeless people walking around, and there was like a weird abandoned Walgreens that had like orchestra music playing from the speakers, and we couldn't use the bathroom obviously, so I had to wait till we got to the museum, which thankfully the bathrooms were a separate building. I don't think I would have felt comfortable going into a haunted museum and using the toilet. Understandably so. I don't remember every aspect of this trip because I think I disassociated a lot because it was really terrifying. All the history that happened in there is just unsettling. You can only go into the building in groups of 12. If you schedule a tour for 6 p.m., just be ready to probably wait around for like an hour. Like they make you wait for like another hour. And they play like these really scary videos of people having paranormal experiences inside the house before you go in. So it's like a weird prep zone to like get you really scared, which I thought was kind of strange. And then they make us sign these waivers that basically say like, if something happens to you, if you get hurt, like you can't sue us. So yeah, you do have to sign those waivers, which made me a little nervous. When you walk in, there's like a lobby and it's got like dolls and like just creepy like little things that have faces on them, and they're completely covering the walls of this lobby room. There's different like sections of this house I noticed. I feel like we had 2 different tour guides if I'm remembering correctly, and they would walk us into each room, and each room would have a theme. And they would really immerse you in the feeling that they want you to feel. So there's either music playing or a scent that they put in the room that really just brings you into the memories of each thing. Like one room specifically that I remember was the clown room. I really hated that one. I actually didn't partake very long. You can walk around this area full of clown things, and it just smelled and reeked of like movie butter popcorn. Like the smell was so strong that it made one of the girls have a really bad headache, and she felt really nauseous. That could also be a paranormal thing mixed in with the popcorn smell. I don't know. One artifact that I was really excited to see but didn't get to see was Robert the doll. If you don't know about Robert the doll, it was like a Haitian doll, and just go read about it. I don't feel like talking about it. It's scary. But I was really bummed I didn't get to see it. I think it's at his other museum. I think he has like 2 or something. Sorry, I'm not much of help because I'm just going off of what I know. Key moments that like stand out to me were Peggy the doll. Like it was like some doll that if you didn't greet her correctly, she would likely haunt you for the rest of your life or do something awful to you. So when you walk in a room, you can't make eye contact with her, and you have to say, hi, Peggy, goodbye, Peggy, or hello, Peggy, goodbye, Peggy, so that she doesn't attach to you. So, like, you have to do it. There was the most haunted artifact on Earth. I don't know how they gauged how it's the most, but it is. It's the most haunted artifact to Zach Bagans, in his opinion, and I'll trust his opinion because he has a lot of stuff. But basically, it is this thing called a Dybbuk box, and they dug it up from the depths of the earth where it was buried in Israel, and they claim that this box holds the devil himself, and it is a box inside of a box inside of another box. It's nailed shut, and they put it inside this, like, bulletproof glass that is bolted together, and they put salt around that, and they put it on this, like, elevated platform, and they put all of that inside of, like, a cage. It's like a lot of protection for people to look at it. That actually made me feel something. I actually heard a voice in my head going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it was like a very deep voice. And the room had like this like sound going. And you weren't allowed to stop. You had to like walk around it clockwise in a line and then leave the room. Like you couldn't stay for more than that. So I don't know. I will also say, I totally skipped this part, but I carried my dad's necklace with me, and I also had my wedding fan because it has a lot of good memories in it, and I just kept fanning myself and praying. And I'm not super religious anymore, but I do believe that manifestation is real, so I manifested protection over myself as I walked through this thing. There were 3 other girls with us. So the bride, she actually had an experience when she was inside the Titanic room. And I didn't know this piece of information. I've only seen the movie, but apparently there was a woman on the Titanic that disappeared, and they ruled it as a suicide, that she had jumped off the ship. But there was also evidence and history between her and someone else on the boat, where they believed that someone that worked on the boat murdered her and threw her off the ship, or that it wasn't self-inflicted. And that room, the bride actually did feel very dizzy in. She felt like she was having vertigo. She felt very unwell. She felt a deep sense of grief. So she, squatted down and hugged her knees and just waited until that part of the tour was over, and then we walked out with her and we helped her up. So that was her experience. 2 of the other girls said that they felt a cold hand press against their back during the celebrity parts of the tour. So yeah, there's that. And then my other friend and I were pretty giggly, and like I was just manifesting protection over myself, and we didn't really experience anything physical like that. Again, the counting that I heard during the Dybbuk box could have been mental. I don't know, but me and my friend that I'm talking about, that's very lighthearted. We didn't have anything too serious happen. Also, I just made sure I didn't touch shit. I didn't touch anything. I didn't touch the walls. The only thing that was touching between me and this house were my shoes, and I made sure I never opened a door. Like even if I was the closest person to the door, I would say like anyone else can open it. Like I'm not touching anything in here. If I go on about every little artifact that I saw on this trip, this video is going to be way too long. But just to know, if you're going into the Zach Bagans Museum in Vegas, that there will be human remains. There will be a lot of triggers. If you are super empathetic and have a lot of, if you lack empathetic boundaries, like you will feel the grief of this place, because there's dead people everywhere. Like there's preserved skin, there's corpses, there's severed heads, there's just a lot of history. And even if it's not haunted, the history of it will get you. I wouldn't plan on doing this at the very beginning of your Vegas trip. Maybe like somewhere in the beginning of the trip, but not the very beginning. And then just do fun shit after, because we fucked up and we did that last. And we were so drained, and it made the trip feel so heavy at the end. But yeah, you go to Zach Bagans and you want to get scared, you gonna get scared.
Our next 3 TikToks are with the user Miss Haley Michelle.
Before I got on my flight to go home, me and some friends stopped at Zach Bagans Haunted Museum, and we were given a choice if we wanted to see the Dybbuk box or not. And the Dybbuk box is actually one of the most haunted objects in the entire world. I didn't want to, I declined, because Post Malone actually saw the Dybbuk box, and the next day his plane almost crashed, so I was all paranoid, and I was like, no, I don't think I should. So I went in the hallways, waited for the others, and when they opened the door, I saw the Dybbuk box head on, and I'm like, great. I didn't even want to see it, and I accidentally saw it, so there's that. After we left, we went straight to the airport. I almost missed my flight because I couldn't find my ticket. Then when I finally do get on, they're having all these technical difficulties. The pilots were explaining it. No one knew what was really going on. We waited there an hour, and then something else happened on the plane, like they didn't know what was going on, and it was a whole mess. And I definitely blame the Dybbuk box. Seriously, that was creepy. I don't know, scary. So the Dybbuk box is actually one of the most haunted objects in the entire world, and it's caused a lot of crazy things to happen to people, including Post Malone. When he saw it the next day, his plane almost crashed, and he got in a car wreck, and he got bit. A lot of crazy things went down, so that's why I didn't want to see it. So I stepped out of the room, and they opened the door to it, and I accidentally looked in and made direct eye contact with it. I could be paranoid, but I mean, I'm in the hospital, so still figuring out what's going on. Just want to say I love Ghost Adventures, Zach and the crew, everything like that. I love the Haunted Museum. I knew what I was getting myself into. I'm not talking anything bad about them. I love them and can't wait to go back. It's just, it could have been something to do with seeing the Dybbuk box. I don't know.
Honestly, the plane issues could be connected. However, I think the noise in the first TikTok is just normal plane noises, because I swear I've heard that on a plane before. I think it's like them de-icing. Maybe, I could be wrong, but I've heard that many times on many flights. So I don't think that noise she was hearing was an issue. While it is like alarming and kind of weird, I don't think that's an issue. But she did say that her plane was actually having like issues before they took off. So who knows, maybe that could be related. Our next TikTok's with user Manic Pixie Final Girl.
So honestly, for the most part, the Zach Bagans Haunted Museum was pretty much exactly what you'd expect it to be. It honestly seems like Zach's entire intention with this museum is to get as many objects with bad energy under one roof as possible. I am absolutely fascinated by the supernatural. For whatever reason, my gut instinct when I hear about like an aggressive spirit or something like that is to fully antagonize it. And so I guess in that way, Zach and I are the same. However, that's all fun and games with haunted dolls and cursed toys and whatever. But the true crime stuff that he has in there is kind of... some of it's fine. Like, he has the serial killer room, which has like artifacts from Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, Charlie Manson, the big ones that everybody knows. The Kevorkian room is a little gross. The van, you see Kevorkian's van. But the one room that, like, the longer I think about it, the more I'm like, no, that was fucked up. is a room dedicated to a serial killer that I actually had never heard of before I walked into that room. And I'm interested in true crime. I've always been interested in it. I had never heard of a serial killer named Robert Berdella. And let me tell you, his crimes are like some of the worst shit I've ever read. It's not just the cruelty of it, but it's how methodical and detached and almost scientific he was about it. Berdella tortured and murdered men in Missouri in the 80s. And he kept detailed journals of his torture experiments, frankly. Zach has pages of those journals on display so you can read from the killer's point of view what he was doing to these people. And he's got Berdella's confession tapes playing on a loop. On another wall, there are larger-than-life photos that Berdella himself took of his victims during their torture session, so you are unable to escape these very real images of these men experiencing the worst pain and fear imaginable. And then there's the mattress. The mattress, on which is staged a mannequin posed as if they're actively being tortured. And that little diorama includes actual objects Berdella used. And so you're looking at these fucking photos and you're reading this journal and you're looking at essentially a torture scene. This video on YouTube shows you in detail. Major fucking trigger warning though.
I will say, to add to her point, that I'm not someone who's bothered by a lot of paranormal or like medical stuff per se. Like I like weird things. It's interesting. I find things fascinating. But there are things in that museum that kind of just like take you aback a little. It's just seeing these things in front of you, like the serial killer items specifically. It's like, it's hard to wrap your mind around what you're looking at. And it's hard to comprehend the fact that like it's literally Charles Manson's hair. Like they literally have some of his ashes. That this man is right in front of you. Ted Bundy's kill kit. Like this was used in crimes. Or even if this specific one wasn't, it was intended to. Like it's a crazy thing to wrap your mind around. And while you're like, you feel like you're so jaded and it's just like, oh, nothing bothers me. I'm just interested in this stuff. I'm just here, for the intrigue of it all. But then you're like, oh my God, like people, Dr. Kevorkian killed people in this van. Again, whether it was, consensual or not, people's lives ended in this van. Like Lamar Odom overdosed in this bed. Things like that where it's like, oh my God, it's so hard to wrap your head around the fact that you're there, and it makes you feel a little sick. Whether or not you believe it's going to affect you, there's bound to be something in that museum that will take your breath away. Our next TikTok spit user, Lindsay L. Porter.
All right, I saw that it's a thing where people are talking about what happened to them at the Zak Bagans Haunted Museum, and I've apparently been. So I will tell you our experience, and yes, it's freaking wild and crazy there. So we went for my husband's 40th birthday, which was in October of 2022, but this was the thing for me. He's not a believer, but I grew up watching these kind of shows. I was obsessed with ghost hunters growing up, and of course watched Ghost Adventures, and I've always been a little bit of a fan of Zak Bagans, so I went here because what a crazy cool experience and museum, and my son is obsessed with Zak Bagans, so I was like, let's do this. Yes, you sign a waiver because yes, crap happens there, but you even like walking up to the museum, you get this ominous feeling, and I don't know. He just has done a really good job putting it together. The only place where you're allowed to take pictures is outside or in the lobby. They have like an area where you can take pictures, a little bit of video, that kind of stuff, but then your phone gets turned off. And honestly, most of it at the beginning was just like really cool vintage artifacts, like things that can be taken in a creepy way. Like one room that I got the heebie-jeebies from was this room that had like a casket made out of wicker, and it's like, I want to say like the third or fourth room, and then you have to crawl through this little tunnel to get to the next room. And I'm already claustrophobic, so like I knew I was gonna start having issues, and I went through there, and I swear, you're gonna hear my kids in the background, but I swear I was touched in that tunnel. And when we get out of there, you're in another room, more creepy stuff happens, but I did not, like, I could handle it. The one room that I had my biggest experience was Dr. Kevorkian's office space. Not where the van is, the office space. So I was up underneath. They have like a television set up in the back corner of the room, and it kind of like describes Dr. Kevorkian, what he's done, that kind of stuff. And his room, the office space has his like artwork, which is really creepy, up on the walls, his actual office, like desk, chair, that kind of stuff. And so we were standing there watching the video, and like as soon as I walked in there, I started getting lightheaded, and I just started having these weird feeling, this weird ominous feeling, lightheadedness, like dizziness. And I remember my heart rate just going like this, and holding on to my husband because I thought for sure I was going to pass out. And I did see on that the video that people have passed out in there, and I was like doing everything I could to calm myself down, to get my breathing in check, to like make sure I did not pass out, because I did not want to miss out on the rest of the tour. So we finally got into the next room where his van is, and I did not have, like, it's creepy of course, but I did not have the same feeling like I did in his office. There's an area where has like circus act kind of stuff that you look in this wagon, sometimes people see shadows. I didn't see the shadow, but I felt something in that room. I don't know what I was feeling. Maybe it was just the vibe of the area, but I felt like I was being watched. And then there's so much creepy stuff. The room with the doll Peggy is really creepy. I could not even look at her. Looked at her in the corner of my eye, and that was it, because I was so freaked out. The Dybbuk box room, of course, is creepy. Like, Post Malone was attacked in that room. And then the hallway, there's a hallway where there's like clowns set up, and I almost could not walk through that. But I think I have a little bit of like a phobia with clowns. But nothing bad happened and all that stuff until we went downstairs, and there's this, in the basement, they have a mirror set up where, I can't remember what it's called. It's like the demon mirror or something, where some people see that kind of stuff. I couldn't even look. I couldn't look at it. I was too freaked out. And they have a staircase from the demon house in a different room, and you just get this weird feeling like evil is like just like coming off of it. And I know some people don't believe in this stuff. My husband doesn't believe in this stuff, but even he said that place has a weird feeling in it. And if he says that, I think that says something.
Our next TikTok spill user, Shay Latab.
I waited a while for my response because I wanted to give it a little bit more time to see if I noticed some other weird stuff after the visit. The first night I did have crazy dream about the house. The weird part was that the dream I had was about the room of Dr. Death. His name's Jack Kevorkian. I probably said it wrong, but he's known as Dr. Death. That was one of the least scariest rooms in the house to me, but that's also one of the most active rooms in the house. There's been a lot of women that faint, pass out, or have been touched in that room. My dream was, it was like a recurring dream. I kept dreaming of that room specifically over and over again throughout the night. I would dream myself in the first room. There's 2 rooms to that exhibition. You walk in the first room, and then there's like pictures, and then Zach does like a video or a little brief story through the TV, and then there's pictures on the wall, and then the guide asks the group to volunteer somebody to open the door, and then whoever opens the door, there's a loud honk, and then we walk into the next room, and there's a white van in that room, and that's the doctor's van where he would perform the assisted suicides to his victims. Mainly women. I know it was usually more than 170 something. I could be wrong on the number. But I basically saw myself alone in the room. It was dim, like it is in the house. And I felt like I was lost. I would leave through the door that we all left through, and then I would go into another door, and then I would find myself back in that same room. It was like a maze. I kept going in and out, and I couldn't find my way out of that room. And then I would wake up. I would wake up from my dream, and then I would see my honey laying next to me, but he wasn't asleep. He wasn't able to sleep through most of the night. And then basically I would fall back asleep to dream the same thing. I would wake up to see him just laying there with his eyes open, and I'm like, "Are you okay?" And then he would just say, "Yes, I'm fine, go to sleep." I would just turn around and I would go back to sleep and to dream the same thing. I felt like I didn't have any rest that whole night. My honey later on, when we got back to LA, we're from LA, he told me that he wasn't able to sleep the whole night because first, he thought he was paranoid. Second, when he was trying to fall back asleep, he kept having like images of the house. So he was like scared to go to sleep, I guess. And then he said he heard noises in our room. But it's Vegas, so there's someone awake at all times of the night. So he thought it was like the neighbors making noises. Who knows? We did sage after we got out of the haunted house. I took holy water in there with me in my bag. I did say a prayer. The creepiest room to me personally was Annalise. I could be saying her last name wrong, but it's Mitchell, I think. They did the Emily Rose exorcism movie on her. That was the creepiest one for me. I was trying to pray in there while they had the actual audio of the exorcism, and I wasn't able to concentrate in my prayer. I kept forgetting the prayer, so I would start the prayer all over again, and then I would forget it, and then it went on like that until finally I was able to say the prayer once before we exit the room. And yeah, that was the creepiest one for me. But it was a good experience. definitely saged after. We saged the car. We saged the other couple that went with us. But I don't know. The vibe is a little bit weird. I pick up on vibes a lot. I'm very in tune with energy. And I know that something's weird. So we might have to sage all over again. But a one-time experience is good for me. I don't know if I would do it again. That's pretty much what happened.
Our next TikTok's with the user, Katie Lady.
Guys, I recently went to the Zak Bagans Haunted Museum, and if you're into the paranormal or spooky stuff, stay tuned. So typically when you go during the daytime, you get to go to the museum with a tour guide, and they kind of tell you everything about the artifacts, and they guide you around. We decided to do the midnight flashlight tour, and basically you do it in pitch black darkness. You get a little flashlight, and you are self-guided, so you can go basically wherever you want through the house. I feel really lucky because I actually got to meet Zach before I went in. And here's my awkward picture. Could we both have been more awkward? That's okay. It was really cool to meet him. So we were outside waiting for our turn to go in, and I see Zach like sneak out of the side door, and he had to like step out and take a deep breath because there was a lot of activity going on that night, as he told me, but you just see him go, and then I hear him go, "This is my safe zone." And he's talking about the parking lot outside of the house. He was really kind to sit and talk with the group of us for a little while, and he had mentioned to me, he's like, yeah, who needs to go to a bar when you could just come in here and feel this woozy feeling? And I just kind of laughed because I didn't know what he was talking about until I went inside. So this house was actually used for satanic rituals at one point in the basement. So it's already haunted and has negative energy in there, and you add all this haunted stuff on top of it, and there's all these belongings from murderers. You're gonna stir up some negative energy. So just imagine that we're in darkness, and this is the only light that we have. So we walk in, and immediately I'm drawn to the demon house steps. So we walk in. It is darker than what it is in this photo. Like I said, it's in the darkness. And this is the steps. And right away we turn on the spirit box because they do give you that on the tour. I was with a lesbian couple, and so they asked a question, and right away on the spirit box it goes, "Shut up, F-A," I'm not gonna spell it out, but that slur. And I was like, oh my god, did it just say that? And then my friends are like, did I just get hate crimed by a ghost? It was honestly really spooky, but we try to make the best of it. And then on the spirit box, I said, is anybody here with us? And then you heard a little boy's voice, and it went, James. And if I'm not mistaken, James's parents used to own that house, and he died as a little boy. It's really scary to think he's stuck in that house forever, but he hung around with us for a little while. And then one of the other words when we went in there was steps, which was weird. So we did do a full lap around the house, but we decided to come back into this room because a lot of stuff was happening when we first got there. And then the same evil spirit that said that slur called one of us a fat ass. Probably me. And when we were also in this room, my friend and I had blessed crosses in our pockets, not visible to anybody. And on the spirit box, it said angel jewelry, which obviously bugged us out because how would it know that? It's in our pockets. And also I forgot, the first time we were in there, the first thing, it was a couple different voices talking, and you could hear scared, and then the next one went, both of them. Definitely talking about my best friend and I. So then we went to the next room, which was the Devil's Rocking Chair. I really didn't spend too much time in there. We did turn the flashlights off and turn the spirit box on, but nothing came on. And then we went to the next room, and I'm already at 4 minutes, so please follow and watch for part 2.
Our next TikTok's with user, The Tired One.
And just because now I'm on the topic of creepy things that have happened, like a few years ago, again, me and my husband doing something together, we were at the Zak Bagans Museum in Las Vegas. We went with my dad and his wife. I love creepy stuff. My husband does not, so I kind of dragged him there. But it doesn't look big on the outside, but if you go inside, it's huge. You're there for like 2 or 3 hours if you do a tour. So going through everything, yeah, it was scary. I didn't see a ghost, but towards the end, something touched me, and I thought it was my husband trying to scare me, or my dad, because I felt like, not like how you feel like a cobweb on your face, like a brush, like I literally felt like fingers like this, but on the back of my neck, and my hair was in a ponytail. So I turned around really fast to say, like, stop it, stop trying to scare me, and no one was there. And I kind of like, I didn't know what to do, and like I could literally feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, and it was scary but kind of awesome.
Our next TikTok is with user Starshines699.
Hi everyone. So if you know what this is, I need to make myself smaller. So if you know what this is, hold on. It is this. Zak Bagans Haunted Museum. So I went there in 2022, and I don't claim to be a medium or anything, but I am sensitive. I've seen paranormal my whole life. I am sensitive to it. I don't say that I can do this and that, I'm not all that, but I am sensitive to it. So I figured I'd tell you my little stories. Now I can't show you any pictures because there's no pictures of the inside, but let's just say you have to sign a waiver of like 9 things, and you have to initial each one to get into this place. Now the person I went with is not my friend anymore, so we'll just say that, and he signed for me. And I didn't even know that we were going until we were going. So, anyway, we got the VIP tour, which means you can go into special rooms and special places. And there was only one party in our tour that didn't have VIP, so they kind of got pressured to buy it. So everyone got VIP. So everyone got the same things. So I just wanted to note on a few experiences that I had. Number 1 experience, throughout the whole museum, I was pushed. I was hit, I stumbled a few times, and I tried my best to hide it from the tour guides, and they would give me strange looks, because I have seen people get kicked out because they're too sensitive, and they have to go out. So, yeah. Most rooms that the VIPs could go in, I chose not to go in because I was so sensitive. Now, this museum, he has like the dirt from an exorcism and the pentagram and a whole bunch of things down in a basement area, down underground. As soon as we got to like the stair areas, there was more haunted things around the stair area, but the stairs were like, we were crowded around it and the stairs were like down it. I was one of the furthest people back possible because I felt if I went closer, I would have been flung down the stairs. So that was fun. So I didn't go down there. But I was next to I think she was not a priest, a nun's head. Yeah, I was next to that instead. The divot box room, I felt it was so powerful. I wanted to get out the second that I could. Ted Bundy laughed in my head. Like, there's a lot of experiences, but this video is already 3 minutes, and I know a lot of people won't even watch this far. So, but if you did watch this far and you want more experiences, especially about Ted Bundy, I have a lot more experiences. I will have to just think about it because I did have it all written down, so I wouldn't remember. But then, like I said, me and that friend that took me, didn't. We don't talk anymore. So I deleted it and I cut up all my memorabilia. That I had a shirt that had it. I had a lanyard. But if you want more, let me know.
Our final TikTok of the video is by the user Awaken the Magic Within.
Earlier today, I was scrolling through TikTok and I saw a video that was talking about the most haunted places to visit in America. And Zak Bagans Haunted Museum was on the list, and they rated it like 1,000 out of 10 as far as haunting goes. That is a very accurate rating. I've been to Zak Bagans Haunted Museum here in Las Vegas, And when I was there, they have you watch this little video before going in and tell you, you know, everything that has happened to people before, like people getting sick, people getting bit, people getting scratched, you know, hearing things, seeing things. And, you know, I'm thinking some of it's got to be gimmick, you know, just to bring tourists in. I mean, it's here in Vegas and he's, you know, a showman. That's what I was thinking, right? So when I went there with a friend from work and I went there with my husband. So it was the three of us. And we're walking through the museum. And of course they have some things separated by rooms, like really haunted stuff that you have the option to either go in or stand outside the door. Some of the most haunted objects in the world are there, like the Dybbuk box, the mirror that if you look into it, supposedly you're going to be haunted. I think a movie they made about that was the movie Oculus. They have a haunted doll. They have a whole clown room. And then they have serial killer memorabilia. They have so many haunted things there that it kind of feels like stagnant energy, and that I don't want to be cliche about this, but things that can't move on, if that makes sense. Stuck entities and stuck beings. And also it just felt like there was so many lost souls that just were like, we're just gonna hang out here. Now, as someone that's a little more sensitive with the spirit side of things, I've kind of tousled back and forth on whether or not it was me, you know, tapping into the energy of the objects that were there, or if it really was, you know, lost souls. But that's definitely open to your interpretation as well too. Out of all of the rooms that were there, the one that I felt the strongest connection to was actually the room that has the mirror in it. Now, when you get into the room, they have the mirror covered with a cloth, and one by one, they open it for the person to see, whoever wants to see the mirror. My dumb ass was like, sure, I'll go in, thinking this is all fake, right? They open the mirror, and as soon as they open the mirror, I feel almost like a vampiric energy attached to my shoulder and my neck area. Kind of like, you know, if your foot falls asleep and you get that tingling pin and needle sensation, that's how it felt. But I felt the energy kind of drain from my body. Legit, a spirit energy vampire. Immediately after this happened, I told my husband and my friend about it, and they were like, before I leave this museum, I cleansed myself, did not look back, and then I drove home. My husband, though, does not believe in anything spiritual at all, and he refused to cleanse himself or anything. What a freaking idiot. Later that night, a spirit entity was standing in my hallway, and no joke, face white as snow, black around the eyes, sharp teeth. I want to say it kind of looked nun-like. You know what kind of nun I'm talking about, right? I don't have to picture her here. For 3 days straight, she visited. And after that point, I'm like, okay, that's it. Let's cleanse the house. I did all the things. Prayer, protect, power up, purge, purify. It got rid of her. But yeah, that was my experience. It took me, I want to say, a full week before I felt like I was totally recovered from my experience there. The worst rooms to go through were definitely the serial killer memorabilias. It kind of messes with your head. Honestly, after my experience, I don't recommend for anybody to go there. Zak Bagans is freaking nuts for having all of that shit in one location. Not everybody there gets along either. Like, some of the spirits combat with each other. Like, they're turf warring it out. I've never been back since.
Okay, so the moment I've been waiting for to share this story with people other than my parents and my friends who are not nearly as obsessed with the paranormal as I am, so I feel like you guys will appreciate it a bit more. I went to Zak Bagans' Haunted Museum for my 21st birthday. I went with a few of my friends. I had said during COVID lockdown, I was on a kick of watching Ghost Adventures, and I said that I will be going to the Zak Bagans Museum as soon as restrictions open up. It was a little bit after that, because it wasn't until March 26th, 2022 to be specific, the day after my 21st birthday. But I did make it there. Initially, I just bought the original tickets. I will say, if you go, it is worth it to upgrade to the RIP. We were thankfully upgraded to the RIP by the manager of the house, Richard, because he knows some people that I was friends with at the time. So that was really cool. I'm so glad that we were upgraded because you really get way more of an experience. It makes it so much worth it. You get like the basement. I believe the Dybbuk box room isn't included if you don't do the RIP. I could be wrong about that, but the basement specifically, I know we wouldn't have been able to do without the RIP tickets. And you get a free t-shirt. In reality, the t-shirt is the same price as the upgrade to the RIP, so it's like you're kind of paying for the t-shirt and then you get to do a full tour. Either way, the t-shirt is like the comfiest t-shirt I've ever owned. It's amazing to sleep in. I personally have an attachment to my Haunted Museum t-shirt. But I 100% recommend, even though it, costs $35 more per person, I would recommend if you're gonna go all out and get the RIP tickets, which is their VIP. The day we went was a few days after 2 of my friends had been there filming for a YouTube video. So one of them had a horrible experience while they were filming there and decided that she did not want to go on the tour with me, which is fine. I totally get it. If I had had that experience, she had had her hair pulled in the basement. If I had had that experience, I don't know if I would ever want to go back. So she decided to sit out the tour and regroup later. So it was me and 3 of my friends. We were sitting outside, as one does, waiting for our turn because they only take like groups of like 12 or 13 people. So you wait in line outside the building. You show up at your tour time and then you get in line and they group people and take them in like intervals so you're not like stacking up behind other tour groups. As we were sitting out there, perfectly fine, we were all chit-chatting. There are videos playing, like clips from Ghost Adventures, short little clips about some of the artifacts, which, as I mentioned before, they're like creepy enough that I do think it's meant to kind of like hype you up before you get in there. But I've seen so many episodes of Ghost Adventures, it didn't really faze me. Like I was cool going into it. I was really excited, like super duper excited. But we're sitting out there. Shortly before we go in, my friend, because there's 3 of them, I'll just call them by like letters. My friend Kay said that she felt someone touching her shoulder. Like, and there was no one behind her. It was like a fence behind her. And she felt someone touching her shoulder. She had been there a couple nights prior, and she had had kind of a few just very generic interactions while we were in during the tour. And so I do believe that something recognized her from her being there the few nights before that. So we got off to a good start before we even got in the building. As we were being rounded up into our group and I saw the front doors of the house, I immediately got this feeling like of dread. Now, believe me, I've dealt with anxiety for years. I'm now medicated for anxiety. Despite that, very rarely have I had this feeling where it's not just anxiety, it's not just like I'd rather go home and avoid having to deal with the feeling of nervousness. It was a deep feeling of I can't do this. It's like I should not be going into that house. I can't do this. I might die if I do this. When I tell you, at the peak of my anxiety before I decided to go on medication, there were still a handful only of times that I ever felt that horrible of a feeling of dread and doom. Like, I'm not kidding. This feeling, it hit me. And I literally turned to my friend and I was like, I can't do this. We need to go back to the hotel. And I mean, she knew that I've been wanting to do this for years. I freaked out when I found that I was so excited. I was so dead set. I was like, you guys, we're doing this for my 21st birthday. You can come or not. Like, but I'm doing this for my 21st birthday. So she was like, okay, like, take a breath. Like, we're gonna go in. We'll do a few rooms, like, start the tour. And if you really, really still need to go, then we can go. But you should at least get in there. And I'm glad that she said that and we didn't just bail. But I felt so unwell. I pushed myself to make it inside the house, and that's where you get into the front entryway area where you have your final chance to upgrade to RIP if you haven't already. There's the final bathroom break of the trip or the tour, unless you want to like be escorted to the bathroom and miss part of the tour. And that is the final place that you can take pictures in before the tour starts. We continue on to the tour, and I'm feeling nauseous. I'm feeling dizzy. I kind of feel like I'm going to pass out. But the craziest thing for me was, I swear to God, the floor was moving. I felt like I was on a boat. It felt like, and keep in mind, these are like wood floors, like old wood floors. You could see, like, to me, it felt like I was on a ship, like a pirate ship because of the wood floors, and I felt like I was on the ocean. And every time I looked down at the ground, it looked like the floor, I literally visibly saw this with my eyes. The floor was going like this. It was like there were waves underneath the wood floorboards, and the floorboards were like moving with the water below it. I'm not exaggerating. Every time I looked at the floor, it made me more nauseous because the floor was moving. I felt it. I could see it. I was trying so hard not to throw up because I was literally on a boat. I'm not kidding. No one else felt it. I asked my other 3 friends and they were like, nope, we're fine. Everyone else was perfectly fine. But I was like hanging on for dear life. I skipped out on the claustrophobic tunnel that people go through from one room to the other. I literally walked around with the guide from like the regular doors because I was like, if I get on my hands and knees and I'm in that tunnel, because I'm also claustrophobic, lucky me. I was like, if I get on my hands and knees and I go through that tunnel, I'm gonna throw up or I'm gonna have a panic attack. I'm gonna get stuck in there. I couldn't do it. When I go back, I will definitely be doing that, assuming I'm not in the same situation. But I literally had to sit out the tunnel because I felt so ill. The thought of me getting on my hands and knees and crawling through a little tunnely thing was just a no-go. Unfortunately, I'm a big true crime. I'm really interested in true crime. And I unfortunately was so sick that I didn't get to fully take in the serial killer room. Like I said before, it's like, it's hard to comprehend seeing those things in front of you, and that I did get from it. And it's so overwhelming. And so the fact that I was overwhelmed with my illness, my sudden onset illness, and then also just like comprehending the fact that like all of these things were right in front of me, like behind glass, but like close enough that if there was no glass, I could reach out and, touch the same things that Ted Bundy touched. Like, ridiculous thing to even think about. I don't know. Yeah, it brings you so much closer to like these horrible, horrible people, and it's not just spooky stories. It's the real humans that unfortunately have walked among us, and I still I didn't get to still take it all in because I was like just so unwell. I was like trying to listen to the tour guide. I was trying to look at things, but I was also trying not to lose my mimosa from breakfast. We went through maybe 5 rooms. Like I don't know exactly the number, but we went through probably about 5 rooms. Each room I was like, okay, I'll make it through this room, and after we leave, I'm done. I'm leaving because I can't do this anymore. And that's how I got myself through the first little bit of the museum, was by essentially telling myself, I just have to make it through this room and then I can leave. And then I'd make it to the next room and I'd be like, okay, I just need to make it through this room and then I can leave. And I just kept doing that to push myself further and further, because the idea of me staying through the whole tour seemed impossible at that point because I, again, felt so sick. The floor did not stop moving this entire time. Up until the part where we got to go into the basement. And I had decided at this point I was going to sit the basement out. I was already like so much worse for wear that I was like, I cannot be going into this basement. But as my friends started to head down to the basement, I don't know what came over me. I jogged up behind them and went down to the basement. It was like all of a sudden this thing in my head said, you should go into the basement. And I was like, okay, I don't know why. Part of me thinks that maybe it was something telling me to go into the basement. I was struggling to make it through the museum at that point because I felt so sick. I was not going to go into that basement. And all of a sudden, going in the basement sounded like the best idea I'd ever heard of. I don't know what convinced me to go down there, but something did. And as I was walking down the stairs into this basement, I felt so much relief. I felt so much better. The basement was creepy for sure. I mean, definitely there's a lot of bad things down there. Like I said, my friend had her hair pulled when she was down there a few nights prior. But it was like a breath of fresh air. I felt so good. It was like, I don't even know how to explain it. It was like never better. It was the weirdest thing. I made my lap around the basement, came back up the stairs. I felt perfectly fine. I felt wonderful. The floor was solid again. My nausea went away. My headache went away. I was able to see straight finally. No longer felt like I was going to pass out. My friend, however, we'll call her by her first initial, C, she felt sick. She felt awful after that. And call me crazy, but I think something was heavily affecting me. And as I entered the basement, it left me and went into her. Call me insane, but I think that is the most reasonable explanation for how I could just be fine like that. And someone who is perfectly fine could all of a sudden feel incredibly sick. We continued on the tour. Again, I was perfectly fine. We went on the rest of the tour. I didn't go through the clown maze because I have this thing. Actually, I haven't gotten as much now that I'm older, but when I was younger, my doctor diagnosed me with a thing called absence seizures that I would get from strobe lights or sometimes at like events, like a fair where it's like it's starting to get dusk out and the lights come on and it's like this weird, you know, the lights are bright, but then it's kind of bright outside but it's like not fully dark outside yet. It's like this weird thing where the best way to describe it is like I'm high and it lasts for like 5 minutes and I don't know where I am and it's a whole weird thing. It also happens in mirror mazes, so I don't do those. But, also my body goes numb. Like I can't feel pain. It's very weird. I haven't experienced it in years, but because I felt so sick earlier in the tour and I have had many bad experiences with strobe lights in the past, I opted out of the clown maze. I think next time I go, I will do it. I think I'm just going to do the whole thing. So like do the whole thing, except probably not Peggy again. But I opted out. And I will say, the tour guide switched halfway through and the guy was grumpy with me that I didn't want to go through the clown maze. And I was like, sir, if I end up unwell because of the clown maze, I think that's going to be more of a burden on you than me following you to the exit instead of going through. Anyway, I opted out of the clown maze for that reason. I was just not willing to risk it after how my morning started off there. But yeah, I mean, everything was fine. We went through the Dybbuk box room. I felt perfectly fine. However, my other friend, S, we'll call her, she felt incredibly unwell. She did not go into the Dybbuk box room. I went into the room, listened to the little presentation, made a lap around the box. I felt perfectly fine. I don't know. I believe it's an incredibly dangerous object. But when I was standing in front of it, it could have just been any old random wooden box. I couldn't tell the difference. So I felt nothing. I left a donation, as they recommend. Not like a donation in the museum, but like a donation in the Dybbuk box. You like, leave a coin or like a little... Some people leave their like IDs. Stupid. I left like a $1 poker chip, but people leave all sorts of random things like buttons, whatever. It's like you're essentially leaving like a little offering to the Dybbuk box. So I left a little $1 poker chip from roulette the night before. Again, this was my 21st birthday trip. Get this, some people even left like chunks of hair as an offering to the Dybbuk box. I think that's idiotic, but what do I know? Anyway, Dybbuk box, I felt fine, but then my friend S was down for the count. She ended up having to leave at some point during the tour. I can't remember exactly which room, but S and K, they ended up leaving briefly because she just needed some air. So they went out together, she got water. She eventually did come back in towards the very end, but she did miss like a chunk of the tour. Either way, like I said, went into Peggy's room. I was in and out in a flash, said hi Peggy, bye Peggy, did not look up once. I went in for the experience to say I did it, but I did not want the full experience. So my eyes stayed on the floor. Titanic room, nothing to note there like paranormal wise, but incredibly interesting. I mean, the museum as a whole, incredibly interesting. At the very beginning, there was the bed that Lamar Odom unfortunately overdosed on from the Bunny Ranch, and the owner died on that mattress. It's apparently incredibly haunted, hence why it's in the museum. Just like so many fascinating things, whether or not I actually had an experience in certain rooms. So interesting. So many things with so much history, like parts of Dean Martin's car. Fascinating museum, like paranormal aside. There's a lot of very different things in there with a lot of history and even just like cultural impact. Very interesting. The last two rooms that I want to specifically discuss are the Devil's Rocking Chair room and the Demon House room. I'll start with the Demon House room because it's not as insane, not as crazy. It was more of just like this feeling I got when I walked in there. I will say that they have the temperature in that room really high. Like I definitely think I had a reaction, like a physical reaction when I went in there, but you know, you take that with a grain of salt because I could tell that the heat was on in that room. Like I said, there are plenty of rooms that they, you know, add little things to here and there for the ambiance to make it spookier, make it feel more this or that. That room, it was definitely intentionally hot. But when I walked in, I got nauseous again. And it went away as soon as I left that room. It's not like, you know, my issues came back or anything. It was just while I was in that room, I was incredibly nauseous. I walked in, started sweating because it was hot, but then I got nauseous, and then it got like a cold sweat kind of a thing. And I left. I didn't stand in there for more than maybe 30 seconds because I didn't feel any reason to be in there. I saw it, I felt sick, I wanted to go. The Devil's Rocking Chair room was incredibly interesting. I personally love the Conjuring films. Great movies. The first one is my favorite. Actually, I really want to see the fourth one. I have not seen it yet. My dad and I want to watch that together. The devil made me do it. Horrifying. Horrifying. And in that room, I had something touch me. I was standing in the corner of the room. My back was to the corner. I at first assumed someone was behind me. I wasn't like pressed up against the corner. Like there was enough room where someone could have been standing behind me. I kind of heard shuffling behind me, and I assumed there was another member of the group standing behind me, listening as they were talking about the rocking chair. So I was hearing the shuffling. I wasn't really thinking anything of it until I felt something touch my shoulder, and I turned around. No one was there. And then I realized that I had been hearing this shuffling and no one was there. So I kind of scooched away from the corner just a little bit, but I was still standing there with my back to the corner. It's not like I could really make a run for it and pick somewhere else in the room. Like I didn't want to be a nuisance or anything. So I was standing there still listening. They played a clip of what I believe are the actual exorcism sounds from that case. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that it is a recording of that actual exorcism. As they were playing that, I then felt something touch my hip bone. I turned around again, still no one behind me. Do with that what you will. I don't know what it was. I certainly hope it wasn't the devil from the rocking chair, but it's been years and, you know, I'm chilling. But yeah, it was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, like, I wasn't as scared as I thought I'd be. Like, I was freaked out, but I think it was because my friends were around me and there was like a ton of people around me that, you know, it's not the same fear of like when you're in a basement by yourself or something like that. You know, there was people around me, so I wasn't that terrified. It's certainly freaky, but it didn't terrify me in the moment, and now I'm like, that was really cool. Yeah, so that was my experience at the Zak Bagans Museum. Other than being touched, you know, the only really crazy thing was at the beginning when, again, I swear to God, the floor was moving. I watched it with my eyes. Like, the floor could not have been doing that. It's just not possible. Like, the wooden floors do not go like this underneath your feet. Like, you're on like, you're not on the waterbed or something. It's not possible. But I saw it. and I felt it. I don't know how to explain that at all, other than paranormal. And there was no, psyching. I was thrilled. I was so excited. And honestly, it's one thing to make yourself, feel a little sick because you're anxious about something. Believe me, I've done that many times in my life. But the floor was physically moving. And as soon as I went into the satanic basement, all my troubles went away. I felt wonderful. That's not the most pleasant thing to say. It's not really what you want to hear. But it happened. And I'm fine. Knock on wood. No, I'm fine. But it was crazy. And I want to go back so bad because I really want to re-experience the first half without the illness that I had. And just for funsies. I mean, so cool. Fascinating. I personally don't like Zak Bagans as a person. I've heard some things through some people that know him personally and don't want to say anything that's going to get me in trouble. But personally, not a fan of the guy himself. Used to be a big fan. Again, don't want to get in trouble, so we'll leave it there. But, take the artist away from the art. I would really like to go back to that museum. Would really like to experience again. I mean, it's pretty much a one-of-kind thing. There's not really anything else like it. I mean, there's plenty of, there's paranormal things you can do, but I feel like having all of those things under one roof inside of a house that already has history behind it, is already haunted, has had satanic rituals and human sacrifices done in the basement. All of that combined, there is nothing else like it. There is not a collection like that in the world, except maybe in the Vatican. But I'm not going to get a tour of that anytime soon, I'm sure. So, I mean, the amount of stuff in there is mind-boggling. The amount of negative energies in that place, mind-boggling. That one girl said that she was the second tour after they reopened after COVID, and I was just thinking the spirits probably had a field day. They were probably bored out of their minds with the same few people in there all the time. Imagine all that energy just locked up in there. But also, on the opposite end, imagine all that energy and all the energy of all these people going in and out. That definitely adds to the paranormal factor here. It's not just these haunted, demonic, possessed, whatever items. It's also the energies that people bring in from their own problems, the energies people have reacting to these things that they're leaving there. Because not only can an item become haunted from, something attaching itself to it, people's idea of an object can also cause it to have that energy. So, with all these high expectations, with all these expectations of super negative things in the museum, I'm sure that just adds to it and heightens everything. And it's really just a giant concoction. It's fascinating to me. Exercise caution, but I really would recommend anyone who's interested in going to take the opportunity to do so if you're ever in Vegas. Yeah, it's just a whole big energy soup in that place, and that makes for some entertaining experiences, we'll put it that way. If you guys have been to the museum, please let me know your stories in the comments. I would love to hear about them. If you have any input from the stories that I played for you today, if you have any input about my story, any similar experiences, please comment them down below. I love looking at your guys' discussions and reading your comments, and I love our little community here. So let me know your thoughts. If you come across any TikToks you want to see me include in a future terrifying TikToks or Glitch in the Matrix video, feel free to tag me in them. My TikTok link is down below, and my username is @the_AbbeyStorymeyer. While you're at it, please check out my Instagram and my TikTok content. I do special effects makeup content on those platforms. You guys like this kind of spooky content, I think you guys will like that kind of spooky content. If you guys like this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. I will pop a couple of video suggestions on screen for you to watch next. Please click the subscribe button down below and try and post notifications so you never miss a video. I post Sundays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central Time. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye.